down here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report. This Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 7th month, first day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Sean Moon, second king of Chunhyugup. Let's first go to our AccuWeather forecast with Tim, the Agent Elder. Tim.
Good morning. It's rather warm right now in the Chunhyugung area. It's at 68 degrees and a dense fog we have this morning. And it's going to be quite warm today, getting up to 88 degrees. It's a warm and humid day.
88 degrees.
Yes, but we're going to have a strong thunderstorm tonight, and that's going to bring the temperature way down tonight. And then tomorrow we'll be getting up only to 80 degrees, and then the rest of the week as well. As we go through the week, we'll have lower and lower temperatures in the mid-70s.
Well, that's good. Because today's going to be 88 degrees, and it's
Yes.
humid. It's already so humid now.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness, it's already, you can feel the humidity. Super, super hot today. Today's gonna be a hot one, everybody. Now, we just had our solar eclipse, and look at my scripture this morning. Wow, look at the scripture this morning. Okay. Matthew 24 and 29, the coming of the Son of Man. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened.
It's darkened yesterday.
And the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. And they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to another. Amen. Wow. What a tremendous scripture. Matthew 24 and 29. Now, yesterday the eclipse was, the eclipse came and it was about 76%. Was it 76%?
Here in Chunhyugung,
75?
yes. South, I think Charleston, South Carolina, and other places had 100%, but here it was a partial eclipse, yes.
Well, we couldn't see anything. I mean, DrudgeReport.com has a picture on its front page of the eclipse, and there you go, right here. Here's one picture of it here. This must have been where there's full visibility of it. The moon cloaks the sun, the nation is awed. Many feel let down, traffic nightmare. Selfies cause major congestion. There was tremendous traffic up there in Oregon and different parts where it was told that there would be 100% visibility of it. We could not really see that much here. Other than around 2:30, it became a little dim, that's all. The sun became a little dimmer. I mean, but we didn't have sunglasses or anything, and we tried to take pictures, but I don't know if anybody got pictures of it. But all we could notice is a little dimming effect. Not a real, it's not, I guess in some places, it gets so dark that you can see the stars.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's quite a rare occasion. Apparently, the last time this type of eclipse happened in America, where it passed over this much of America, was 1776. Isn't that interesting? 1776. That, of course, is the day of the
year of the
year
Declaration of Independence. Yes.
Of the independence of America from Britain. Also, it's also the day of the founding of the Italian Illuminati, Bulgarian Illuminati. I'm sorry, Bavarian. And they set it up in the same way as a counter riposte to the American Revolution. Of course, they're the folks that are into Satanism and globalism and world governance. So there's been parallel kingdoms that have been fighting. And of course, we have the eclipse now that really symbolically represents, of course, the kingdoms that are fighting. Just like in 1776, now this is the time now where you see the kingdoms of the world that are fighting. Again, Satanism versus Godism. Again, Satanism in the form of political Satanism, allying with radical Islam and different totalitarian forces, fighting against sovereignty-based political movements. Okay. Which of course is allying with evangelical Christianity, you see. Evangelical Christianity is very much behind Trump, allying with the sovereignty movement in the Trump revolution. So we can see that there is a spiritual battle that is ensuing. You can see that the Pope is many times against Trump, but the evangelical movement is for Trump. So you can see the Cain and Abel side immediately. You can see God's side, Satan's side bifurcated immediately. And so we have that direct parallel to the beginning of this republic, where the sun was darkened then, and as the scripture said, it is now also darkened. This is a harbinger of the coming of God's kingdom. And look at that, it says, of course, we know the Son of Man coming on the clouds, having with power and great glory. We know the principal perspective. The clouds are representative of the masses. And you see that, you see a sweeping, you see the sweeping of sovereignty and of Godism to the masses, even though they don't know it as Godism, or that they don't call it Godism. You can see the Spirit of God is pouring over the earth, and people are starting to awaken. Awakening towards their conscience, awakening towards freedom, awakening towards the gift of liberty, not the right of liberty, it's a gift. It's a gift of grace, and in order to keep it, one must be willing to die and stand up for it. I was speaking with a whole group yesterday after service, after the King's Report yesterday. We went until 11:30. My goodness, we had a long morning. But it didn't even feel like the time. The time just went by so quick. But it was 11:30, and Bergie Hutcherson said, during the tribulation time, this is the Isaac generation, but Chaniga will not come until the third king's reign. And we have 3.5 years, and how will that materialize? And of course, we told her, "Don't worry, Bergie." And she's probably watching right now. Hello, Bergie. But we don't know what will happen in 3 years. And I told her I may die. I may not be here in 3 years. You never know what will happen. We may have to fight in a war. We don't know. It may get hot. And she was a little shocked by that, but Bruce could understand that, you have to make the determination that you do not fear death, and that you are willing to die, ready to die at any time. You never know, you may have to, if civil war, civil unrest breaks out, we may have to fight Just like, the founding fathers had to fight, putting their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor on the line. You know, who knows what the day of the Lord will show. The point is that at that time of the end days, we will see signs in heaven. The sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. We see Revelation 12 and the sign of the Virgo, the sign of the birthing of the kingdom of God, or the planet of God, which is Jupiter, which really represents like the king's kingdom, or the king, a place, a birthing of a new land, the birthing of a new reality, a new cosmos. The birthing of God's kingdom is coming. Whether the people of the earth realize it or not, the Spirit of God is pouring out. Now we know that Revelation 17, the harlot of Babylon, we know who that is. That's the Han mother. Betrayed and became adulteress, becoming the harlot. The gate of Babylon, the opening of the gate of self-worship and the gate of goddess, demonic goddess worship. The arrogance of false women, who are dishonorably illegitimate, to try to make themselves into goddesses. We see that power, of course, allying with Babylon and the satanic realm. And then, of course, Revelation 12, as we spoke on Sunday. And I identified Revelation 12. And that is Mrs. Kang. In Revelation 12, we found out, of course, her birthday, October 1st. Her passport birthday is October 1st, but her real birthday is actually September 15th. And guess what? Where that exactly falls? That falls exactly in the Virgo.
Can I explain that a little bit? People, what passport? What?
Yes, go ahead.
Because in Korean birth records, especially of Mrs. Kang's generation, her birth record in Korea will only show her lunar birth date, which is the 8th month and 20th day. There are conversion tables on the internet where you can go and put in those numbers and figure out what day that was on the Gregorian calendar, that is the solar calendar, and that is September 15th. Now, we don't know why her passport says October 1st, but that is when my wife's passport birthday is also not her real birthday.
Me too. No, the Queen is same too.
Same, yeah.
In Korea, they do that, I guess, a lot.
They do that a lot, yeah.
You know, because I guess, why did you have to do that? She had to register for something when she was younger? Anyway, she can't hear me now.
She can't hear you. She'll hear you in about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But there are many reasons, yeah.
Yeah. Her actual birthday is in November. But I know the Queen.
Oh, I see the Queen.
But her passport says January.
Yes.
Why did you have to do the
My situation was a little different from the normal people.
the regular?
Yeah, they wanted to give me as an offering child to different family. That's why they registered me a little late.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Her parents were thinking of giving her as an offering child. That's why they registered her late. Okay. Anyways, there's a lot of people like that.
It's quite common, yes.
Anyways, the point is, I asked Father for a very strong confirmation for months of prayer. And even if it fell around the vicinity of the Virgo, I told Father that would be confirmation. But now as we go forward and more information comes out, we now found out that it falls exactly on the Virgo, and she is a Virgo. And then of course correlates with the exactly 9 months that she, basically the 9 months that she's been in the Cheonilgung with the king, and as a mother protects her child, is protecting the king, the third king, and the King of Kings, of course, testifying on True Father's behalf profusely, doing what that mother should have done. She bows to the lineage, she humbles herself to the lineage of God, to the kingship of God. and is doing as one of the most senior disciples, is doing what the honorable woman must have done. So anyways, one is in Revelation 17, we've identified how the Alabama we know is the Mother, and Revelation 12 we now know is the Virgo. That matches up with 923 Virgo constellation. The woman cloaked in the sun, moon at her feet, and the garland of 12 stars. What's interesting is both Cain and Abel, that father appointed, myself and Kukchinim, our children all comprised together is 12. He has 7, I have 5. So when they add them to all the stars representing the children, usually the Bible says stars represent the children. The principle also says stars represent the children. The combined children of the camp of Cain and Abel is 12 stars.
Wow,
12 children.
that's amazing.
And of course, she is uplifting them, uplifting the whole Cain and Abel and the lineage of God. So, we live in those types of times, folks, those types of times. We don't know who will have to give their life at this time. But all must be ready to fight for God's kingdom, to stand up against evil and unrighteousness. And it's very interesting that we get this scripture about the darkening of the sun and the signs in heaven. The signs are coming very soon, September, very soon. A shift of the earth. And like I said, there will be a new war, another war that is coming, another battle that will rage. Please pray for us. Please pray for President Trump. Pray for, who knows? Kuk Chung said, when I said, there will be in the macrocosm, and now is the ability for a woman to rise, to protect Trump like the mother figure. And he said there may be Lady Liberty. Could be Lady Liberty. Could be the Liberty Movement that must play the mother's role to Trump. And we must understand the microcosmos always leads the macrocosmos. The microcosm is the subject position. The macrocosm is the object position. With the 12 disciples of Jesus, just 12 people, 13 people walking around on earth, that was a micro. That led world events, not the other way around. Not world events led the 12. You understand? In the same way, the microcosm, the providence, the microcosm here leads the macrocosm, just like when we stood up against Our Mother. Then you could see the Trump revolution stand up against the globalists and the political Satanists. When we released the Constitution, the family fraud released the Constitution, boom, the macrocosm, you could see the more and more exposing between who is a political Satanist and who is centered on God. You see? It moves from the micro to the macro. When we moved to Pennsylvania, began the providence of restoration here, the True Father did, sending us to Cain and Abel here. Then you can see that on the macrocosm, Pennsylvania became the key to elect the world president, right? The microcosm is the subject. The macrocosm is the object. Micro to macro. So now in the same time, as there will be more wars and more battles to be fought on the micro, it will also wage to a large degree on the macro. So we must be ready at this time where the sun is darkened before our eyes. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
.58. 14. That's 646. Time 471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. The 40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the Magna porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hongji Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And now let's check the solar eclipse out that happened yesterday. This is a pictures, an article from the New York Times, the New York Fake Times, but this one, these kind of ones that are non-political, they report somewhat accurately. Here we go. Here's a picture of it with the solar eclipse up there, and other people taking photos here. Let's just go to the photos here. Here's people in the football stadium of the Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, where the crowd shouted "Totality." They got quite a darkening, didn't they?
It passed right over.
They got
Carbondale.
quite a darkening. An event like this has not happened in nearly a century. Since this was totality, an event that had not happened in the continental U.S. since 1979, had not traversed such a broad swath of country in nearly a century. Here's another picture of a woman watching the eclipse. Here's some other pictures of people in southern Illinois out on the fields looking at the eclipse. Look at that picture of the moon covering the sun. That's a very powerful picture, isn't it? That is quite a powerful picture. That is a total eclipse. Look at that, completely covering it. So we are in a sign. We are definitely in signs of special time. This is not a normal time. Look at this.
Some type of eclipse apparently happens somewhere in the world between 2 and 5 times a year. Not necessarily total eclipse, partial eclipse, or what they call an annular eclipse or hybrid eclipse. But this is the first time that this happened during the social media age, and in the United States, where you have so many internet users and so forth, and so it caused a lot of excitement.
Well, and also we know that the U.S. is now the center of providence. And we see here, look at this picture, it's very hazy. This is what I felt like it was. At around 2:30, I felt that it was very hazy. It looked like almost like a dull light.
Like
Dull light.
Kind of dusk.
Yeah, it was a weird kind of light. It was almost like a hazy light. So it did. The light seemed different, but when we looked, just gazed briefly into the sun, we could not spot anything different. All we could see is just a hazy type of light. Here are some other people looking at it from a park in Nashville. Oh, now the computer is slowing down there. And of course, the big news is, on the same day as the solar eclipse, Trump gives a speech on, what does he give a speech? Tim, can you pull that story up? I'm having a hard time pulling that up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
So President Trump gave his first formal speech as Commander-in-Chief of the military, and he was talking about Afghanistan. And guess what? We're not pulling out. President Trump outlined a comprehensive new strategy Monday night for achieving a lasting peace in Afghanistan, rejecting what he called arbitrary timetables for the U.S. troop presence, ratcheting up pressure on Pakistan to stop harboring militants, and vowing to refocus the mission on, quote, killing terrorists, unquote, not nation building. Yes, that last part I like. Quote, from now on, victory will have a clear definition: attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing Al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America, unquote, Trump said in a primetime address to the nation. The speech made clear he is keeping U.S. troops in the country. He said they will, quote, fight to win, unquote, and scrapping any consideration of a hasty withdrawal. Speaking to service members at Fort Myer, Virginia, though, Trump tried to draw a sharp distinction between his approach and that of his predecessors. Pointedly, the president vowed not to openly discuss troop numbers, withdrawal dates, or attack plans. Quote, conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on, unquote. He said, vowing, quote, America's enemies will never know our plans. Ahead of the speech, a senior U.S. official confirmed to Fox News that Trump has, in fact, signed off on sending an additional 4,000 troops to Afghanistan, apparently listening to appeals from his generals. But Trump's address to the nation was focused on more than troop levels. He stressed that the U.S. commitment to Afghanistan is not a blank check, and the American people expect real results. He declared the days of democracy building abroad are over. I hope he remembers that when people start talking to him about Venezuela. Quote, we are not nation building again, unquote, Trump said. We are killing terrorists. Trump is now the third commander-in-chief to attempt to bring stability to the war-torn country and seek a U.S. victory in what is now U.S.'s longest war. He acknowledged the American people are weary of war without victory, but he sought to bring new focus to the fight Monday night, highlighting the threat that must be eradicated from upwards of 20 terror groups if active in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Trump's warning to the latter nation marked perhaps the most significant rhetorical and diplomatic shift. He said bluntly that Pakistan, quote, often gives safe haven to agents of chaos, violence, and terror, unquote, a situation made worse by the tensions between Pakistan and India, two nuclear-armed neighbors. Trump said a pillar of the new strategy is a change in approach to Pakistan. Quote, we can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond, unquote, he said. Complaining that Pakistan houses the terrorists the U.S. is fighting as they take billions in aid, Trump said that will have to change. Trump's stance on Afghanistan has shifted over the years. Prior to his candidacy, Trump called for U.S. troops to leave Afghanistan immediately and rebuild the U.S. first on Twitter in 2013, even agreeing with then-President Barack Obama on withdrawing troops. But since taking office, Trump has been stepping up military action in Afghanistan. The Trump administration has ramped up airstrikes in the region with 1,984 U.S. bombs dropped in Afghanistan between January and July this year, compared with 705 dropped during the same time period in 2016. That's a 181% increase, according to U.S. Air Force data. In his address, Trump admitted his original instinct was to pull out of the war zone, but he said he studied the issue and held many meetings over many months with the cabinet and generals to complete the new military plan. He said a rapid exit would be unacceptable, citing the example of Iraq as a cautionary tale. In the end, we will win, Trump said. The president began his address with words of unity after a week of political turbulence and racial and cultural divide after attacks in Charlottesville, Virginia. Loyalty to our nation demands loyalty to one another, he said. Love for America requires love for all its people. We cannot remain a force for peace in the world if we are not at peace with each other, Trump said. I'll bet Ivanka wrote that paragraph. Anyway, ahead of this prime time address, Fox News learned that the president had signed off on sending an additional 4,000 troops. We already said that, adding to the current estimated 8,400 U.S. troops already stationed in the region. I'm proud, I'm relieved, I'm proud of the fact that President Trump made a national security decision, not a political decision. This is Lindsey Graham talking, Senator Lindsey Graham. I'm proud of the fact that he listened to the generals, and most proud of the fact that he shows the will to stand up to radical Islam. I'm relieved that he did not take the advice to withdraw, which would have been disastrous, or create a mercenary army. Mercenary army is that there was an option being discussed to perhaps privatize the war, just turn it over to a security company like Blackwater. And so apparently Trump has decided against doing that, and Lindsey Graham said that's a good idea. Quote, tonight the president said he knew what he was getting into and had a plan to go forward. This is Pelosi talking now, Nancy Pelosi. Tonight the president said he knew what he was getting into and had a plan to go forward. Clearly he did not. The president's announcement is low on details but raises serious questions. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi reacted. The stakes are high for the new strategy, which follows months of deliberations, including a top-level meeting at Camp David last week, nearly 16 years after the 9/11 terror attacks, which first drew U.S. forces into Afghanistan. The local government controls just half the country, beset by the Taliban insurgency and terrorist factions. An Islamic State affiliate has been hit hard, but continues to attempt major attacks in the region. Vice President Mike Pence spoke with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani earlier Monday ahead of the president's remarks. Politically speaking, the president is seeking a reset after what was perhaps the rockiest stretch of his presidency thus far, one that saw multiple staff shakeups and an all-consuming controversy last week over his response to the violence in Charlottesville. The president took heat for repeatedly blaming both sides for the clashes at a white supremacist rally where a counter-protester was killed in a car attack. The response was met with bipartisan rebuke from members of Congress and a wave of resignations from various corporate and other advisory boards. That's it.
And there you go. The Afghan war wages on again.
Yes.
Even though 16 of the hijackers on 9/11 were Saudi Arabian, no war on Saudi Arabia, no sanctions on Saudi Arabia, only praise and money being sent their way. And meanwhile, the war in Afghanistan, which is of course the drug war and the poppy seed war, the control of the heroin trade, continues to go on in the guise of getting the terrorists, an undefined, unnamed, number of groups that, and now there's up to 20. Okay, it's not even ISIS and Taliban. It's now up to 20 different ones that we must eradicate. Now basically making us, the U.S., into a permanent stronghold in the Middle East, just like they have permanent bases in South Korea stationed there. This is the direction that Trump promised he would not go. Of course, you can see the bad situation that's happening with all those generals around him. Mattis, Kelly, and McMaster. Mattis being out of those three the most able type, but which is now leading away from his original stances and now going towards McMaster and Kelly, because they're intimidating them and making all the Republicans feel that Trump will be impeached soon. And according to Cernovich, that Pence is now starting the super PAC fundraising for himself to be the next president, and of course his election, potential election, not Trump-Pence 2020, but Pence somebody else 2020, as Trump is facing onslaught after onslaught for the media, and of course a dwindling confidence rating that is starting to affect his own processes in the White House. Now you see Rand Paul, of course, is opposing the troop surge. Rand Paul opposes the troop surge and mission in Afghanistan has lost its purpose, he says. He released a statement on Monday opposing the plan to add additional troops to the ground mission in Afghanistan, hours before President Trump addresses the nation. The mission in Afghanistan has lost its purpose, he said. I think it's a terrible idea to send any more troops into that war. The press release also pointed out that Rand has previously proposed an amendment to the NDAA. We just talked with Dan Johnson, who worked with him on that, to repeal the 2001 and 2 authorization of use of military force, AUMF, forcing Congress to vote on any further military action in Afghanistan. This amendment expresses the consensus of Congress that the President cannot conduct ongoing U.S. military operations in Afghanistan without an AUMF from Congress authorizing such conduct. The release reads, he strongly believes that if the President and Congress want to continue the war in Afghanistan, then at the very least that Congress should vote on it. Trump is widely expected to add between 3,000 and 4,000 U.S. troops to the roughly 8,400 currently in situ. Any additional troops would expand the current train and advise mission to Afghan troops fighting the Taliban and expand the counter-terrorism mission to defeat Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State's affiliate in Afghanistan, as well as other terrorist organizations. In 2014, Barack Obama announced his plans to withdraw all U.S. troops by the time he left office in January 2017. And of course, he did not fulfill that promise. When looking back in history, Trump in 2013 on his Twitter feed in November 13 wrote, "Do not allow our very stupid leaders to sign a deal that keeps us in Afghanistan through 2024 with all costs by USA." Trump wrote on Twitter in November 2013, "Make America Great." Trump shared his frank assessment about the Afghan conflict many times in 2013 as the U.S. military was repeatedly hit by terrorist attacks in the region. "Let's get out of Afghanistan. Our troops are being killed by Afghans. We train and we waste billions there. Nonsense. Rebuild the U.S." The mission in Afghanistan took a political blow as well in 2013 as President Hamid Karzai challenged the Obama administration's security pact. "We've wasted an enormous amount of blood and treasure in Afghanistan. Their government has zero appreciation. Let's get out," Trump said after Karzai's bluster. Can you believe that President Karzai of Afghanistan is holding out for more, refuses to sign a deal? Tell him to go to hell. Early in 2013, Trump signaled agreement with then President Obama. "I agree with President Obama on Afghanistan." After Obama and Karzai agreed to speed up the process of American troops leaving the country, "We should have a speedy withdrawal. Why should we keep wasting our money? Rebuild the U.S." He quoted. He said, "We should leave Afghanistan immediately. No more wasted lives," he wrote. "If we have to go back in, we go in hard and quick. Rebuild the U.S. first." In 2015, Trump ridiculed Obama for setting a date for the departure of U.S. troops, allowing the Taliban to wait out the war. And of course, you see with the article that Tim just reported, 20 different terrorist organizations. We couldn't even get rid of Al-Qaeda or Al-Taliban. And now we're sending more troops in. We're not going to be able to hit this hard and quick. We're not going to be able to get rid of them. These 20 organizations, which are not even named, destroyed quickly. And again, this is a longer extension of America's now longest war. At the bidding and behest of Saudi Arabia. At the behest of those who in the Oval Office, namely McMaster and those generals, who want to keep control of the heroin trade because they say it's for the protection of the U.S. because we don't want we don't want ISIS to get control of it, or we don't want this or that terror group to do it. No, the U.S. is using that for its black ops, for funding itself, for taking control of $800 billion per year, which they are unaccountable to the taxpayer too with. And with that money, we don't know what they're doing with stem cell research, biological, biotech firms, and bioweapons, robotic weapons, you name it. It's like a secret spending budget that they have. $800 billion in heroin drug trade. And they don't want to give it up. They don't want to give it up. They don't want to give it up. 2015, Trump ridiculed Obama for setting a date for departure of U.S. troops, allowing the Taliban to wait out the war. As soon as he left, they knocked the shish kebab out of us, out of everybody, Trump said during a speech in New Hampshire precluding his run for president. At that time, Trump said the U.S. should be unpredictable in the fight in Afghanistan. I would never have given a date. I would have said, no, we're never leaving. He said, predicting that the terrorists would give up if faced with American resolve. So is he doing that today? Is he calling a big bluff? The chances are no. Because we see the generals are now surrounding him. And when we come back from this break, we're going to break down more of the most dangerous general, McMaster, that is sitting right next to Trump in the Oval Office. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see what the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017. Broadcasting live from the Cheongguk Palace, all the kings and queens of Cheongguk and the kingdom of God. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Now let's go to this article on Breitbart. H.R. McMaster endorsed book that advocates Quran kissing apology ceremonies. A book on terrorism endorsed and touted by McMaster, the embattled White House National Security Advisor, calls on the U.S. military to respond to any desecrations of the Quran by service members with an apology ceremony, and advocates kissing a new copy of the Quran before presenting the Islamic text to local Muslim public. Wow. You're supposed to see this is there was a whole I think David Wood did a article on this, a video on this. Go ahead, guys, look up David Wood and U.S. military Quran ceremony or something like that. He did a whole breakdown of this, which is outrageous. The fact that the U.S. Orders its armed forces to handle the Quran with white gloves and to do Quran kissing ceremonies and apologize for desecrations, all this kind of thing. But they can burn Bibles. Burning a Bible is no problem, but you must treat the Quran with care and holiness. Okay, is that the one? Is that the video? I'm not sure if that's the video. No, it's not. Oh, let me see. Yes, that's right. Okay, let's play that video. Go ahead, play that video.
Found it guilty and sentenced it to this. Now, I've said before that I'm against burning books and that I disagree with the actions of Pastor Jones, but that's the great thing about America. We're allowed to disagree. I can say, hey, Pastor Jones, I think book burning is backwards and barbaric. And he can say, too bad, these are desperate times. We're trying to make a point. The reason people can discuss their differences and not kill each other in the United States is that over the past 2 centuries, we've come to respect the free speech rights of all citizens. In countries that haven't learned to respect certain basic freedoms, disagreements often lead to violence and bloodshed, as you can see from the deadly protests in Afghanistan. This is why it's so disturbing that U.S. lawmakers are now apparently looking for ways to limit free speech about Islam. Senator Lindsey Graham recently said this.
You know, I wish we could find some way to hold people accountable. Free speech is a great idea, but we're in a war. During World War II, you had limits on what you could say if it would inspire the enemy.
Freedom of speech is a great idea, but not if it might lead to problems. As the mighty Patrick Henry said, give me liberty so long as it doesn't offend Muslims.
Anytime we can push back here in America against actions like this that put our troops at risk, we ought to do it.
The government needs to push back against free speech. Let me see if I've got this straight. The U.S. military and its allies are engaged in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. One of the goals of this mission is to bring a lasting democracy to the Afghan people. Let's face it, we're trying to make Afghanistan more like the West, at least in terms of minority rights, women's rights, and so on. But according to Senator Graham, in order to make Afghanistan more like America, we have to make America more like Afghanistan. If we want to win Operation Enduring Freedom over there, we need to start Operation Enduring Sharia over here. Yes, if you want victory over the Taliban, just let the Taliban revise the Bill of Rights. Some people are worried that Senator Graham's plan, if successful, would be the beginning of Sharia in the United States. I hate to be the one to inform everyone, but we've already got Sharia in the United States. And no, I'm not talking about Dearborn, Michigan, where Judge Mark Summers and Judge Michael J. Callahan have ruled that police have probable cause to arrest a Christian, even if the Christian hasn't committed a crime and hasn't been accused of committing a crime. The Fourth Amendment no longer protects Christians from illegal search and seizure in the city of Dearborn. But right now I'm not talking about a single city. Sharia has already replaced part of the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution. Sounds crazy, right? It would sound crazy to me too if I didn't know what I'm about to say. Let's look at a few video clips. Here's Secretary of State Hillary Clinton condemning Quran burning while speaking at a Muslim iftar dinner during Ramadan.
I am heartened by the clear, unequivocal condemnation of this disrespectful, disgraceful act.
According to President Obama, God is against burning the Quran, and if you pray about it, the angels will tell you.
And he says he's praying on it.
Yeah, I hope he listens to those better angels.
A few days ago, General David Petraeus, commander of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan, condemned Pastor Jones for burning the Holy Quran.
We condemn the action of an individual in the United States who burned a Holy Quran. That action was hateful, it was intolerant, and it was extremely disrespectful.
So, there you have it, the official position of U.S. leaders on burning a religious text. My question for Secretary of State Clinton and President Obama and General Petraeus is this. Do you think Americans are so dull, ignorant, stupid, slow-witted, and scatterbrained that we forgot about this little incident?
Bibles written in Pashto and Dari, the two most common Afghan languages. Bibles sent by a church to a U.S. soldier in Afghanistan. Bibles that were later burned by the U.S. government.
Who burned the Bibles? A bunch of Muslim radicals?
Burned by the U.S. government.
Who? A toothless hillbilly straight out of Deliverance?
Burned by the U.S. government.
The U.S. government?
The U.S. government.
But I thought only racist, intolerant bigots burned holy books. That's what I've been repeatedly told by the same government that burned these Bibles.
It was their best judgment at the time. The best way to deal with it was to destroy them. And I understand that they were burnt.
Why would the U.S. government burn Bibles?
The leadership confiscated these Bibles so they could not be distributed here in Afghanistan.
I don't get it. Wouldn't the Muslims of Afghanistan welcome Christian evangelists with open arms on account of Islam being so peaceful and such?
A U.S. military spokesman tells CNN that kind of religious outreach could have provoked a violent backlash against Americans in this devoutly Muslim nation.
Interesting. You don't burn the Quran, because if you do, Muslims might go on a killing spree. But you do burn the Bible, because if you don't, Muslims might go on a killing spree.
Islam has a proud tradition of tolerance.
But why burn the Bibles?
The decision was made to throw the Bibles away, and in war zones, U.S. troops are required to burn their trash.
Ah, now I understand. You had to burn the Bibles because it's military policy to burn garbage. Would you like to know what the military's policy is when it comes to the Quran? I have here a copy of a Department of Defense memorandum distributed at Gitmo, explaining how U.S. soldiers are to handle the Quran if they absolutely must touch a copy. Check out the highlighted portion. Clean gloves will be put on in full view of the detainees prior to handling. 2 hands will be used at all times when handling the Quran in manner signaling respect and reverence. Care should be used so that the right hand is the primary one used to manipulate any part of the Quran due to the cultural association with the left hand. Handle the Quran as if it were a fragile piece of delicate art.
The Holy Quran, the Holy Quran, the Holy Quran.
According to U.S. government policy, you must handle the Quran with respect and reverence, as if it were a delicate piece of art. But feel free to burn the Bible, because that's just what you do with garbage. If you burn the Quran, the government will condemn your actions. If you burn the Bible, hey, had to be done. What's this mean? It means that the U.S. government has given the Quran a privileged status over all other books. They say it's wrong to burn religious texts, but their actions show they really only care about one religious text. This means, of course, that the government has violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. They're giving a special position to the Holy Book of Islam. And what has replaced the Establishment Clause? How about Surah 9, verse 33?
The Holy Quran teaches that
it is He who has sent His messenger, Muhammad, with guidance and the religion of truth, Islam, to make it superior over all religions, even though the mushrikun, polytheists, pagans, idolaters, disbelievers in the oneness of Allah, hate it. If you have a Quran, you might want to read this verse in context. Verse 29 commands Muslims to fight those who do not believe in Allah. Verse 30 condemns Christians and Jews and calls for our destruction. Verse 31 claims that Christians and Jews have abandoned pure monotheism. Verse 32 says that unbelievers try in vain to put out Allah's light. And finally, verse 33 declares that Allah will make Islam superior to all other religions. So our leaders are giving Islam the special treatment it demands.
A holy Quran, a holy Quran, a holy Quran.
This is why, even though the vast majority of religiously motivated hate crimes in the U.S. are directed against Jews, we're having hearings on anti-Muslim bigotry. Why are Muslims more important than Jews? Surah 3, verse 110 says to Muslims,
The Holy Quran tells us,
"You are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind." Muslims are the best people in the world. But who are the worst people in the world? Jews, Christians, and other non-Muslims. Surah 98, verse 6.
As the Holy Quran tells us,
Verily, those who disbelieve in the religion of Islam, the Quran, and Prophet Muhammad, from among the people of the Scripture, Jews and Christians, and al-mushrikun will abide in the fire of hell. They are the worst of creatures. We're the worst of creatures. Muslims are the best of peoples. That's what this book says, and it's obviously the official position of the U.S. government. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I be using my right hand, President Obama? I don't want the FBI kicking down my door.
and I consider it part of my responsibility as President of the United States to fight against negative stereotypes of Islam wherever they appear.
What Senator Graham is suggesting then isn't that we introduce Sharia into America. We've already done that. He's telling us we should find ways to expand the domain of Sharia. Come on, folks, it's already replaced part of the First Amendment. Why not finish the project and take out the free speech clause too? So, after fighting for our independence from Britain and vowing in the preamble of the Constitution that we would secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, after enduring a bloody war to end slavery and marching for women's rights, after defeating the Nazis and quarantining communism, America dies a quiet death under the knife of political correctness, leaving us with a strange, heterogeneous mixture of dwindling American greatness and Islamic supremacism. It's a brave new world, my friends. Welcome to Sharia America, where becoming a dhimmi is a citizen's duty. Unless, of course, we decide to fight the power.
In order to fight the powers that be, fight the power.
And there you go, David Wood breaking it down. That was a couple years ago, actually. That was a few years ago. But still, you can see how the Quran is treated as a privileged scripture.
That's still true today, yes.
This is a true introduction of Sharia law by the Obama courts and by Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration, giving Islam the privileged status because they ally with radical Islam and any other form of political Satanism to bring down Christianity, to create a hostile environment where people unwittingly don't even know they have to worship Sharia law, even though they don't know what's even in the book. They have to show deference and use white gloves, but you can burn Bibles. This is the America that now we are living in. Ridiculous. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
God's not dead.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungji Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. White House braces for thousands of protesters outside Phoenix rally, where Trump could pardon famed Tent City Sheriff Joe Arpaio, which he absolutely should. Two Facebook groups have a combined 5,600 RSVPs for anti-Trump Phoenix protests on Tuesday. Just 500 showed up a year, that is today. Showed up a year ago when the candidate Trump delivered a immigration speech there. The president could issue an official pardon on Tuesday today to former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was convicted by an Obama holdover judge last month, convicted of contempt last month, but because he defied a judge's order to halt arrests based on racial profiling of illegal immigration. He was one of the key figures in the Trump campaign for then candidate Trump, who was standing up and confirming as a law enforcement agent down on the border, near the border, that the border is wide open and that illegal immigration is happening. And that's unfair to legal immigration and people who are waiting online. When Obama was just letting them pour in, cutting the line, and then jumping them on welfare so they can vote Democrat, just using people as political fodder. Anyways, it's so ridiculous. But this is Sheriff Arpaio, who was absolutely one of the most critical law enforcement agents that came out on the scene, risked everything, risked his whole life, risked his reputation, came under tremendous berating attack to stand up for President Trump. And where is President Trump now when he is under attack by Obama judges? Obama judges.
Prosecutors, yeah.
Prosecutors.
Both.
Who are trying to go after him because he didn't want to enforce the laws of letting people pour in. And Obama just telling everybody to stand down and let people pour in, cut the line, cheat, of all those other minority groups that are waiting online, waiting, to get their immigration papers and documents confirmed to legally enter. Just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. A combined 5,600 people said they had planned to attend, judging from RSVPs on two Facebook advertisements for anti-Trump rallies. One features the logo incorporating the number 45. Trump is the 45th U.S. president in a mock-up of Nazi swastika. This is so ridiculous. I mean, these people are so ahistorical. They don't realize that the Nazi Party was the Democratic Socialist Party. Isn't that funny? You have all these crazy, crazy nutbag young white kids who are saying they're Maoists and they're the Red Guard and they love communism and they're socialists. Hello, and then they call Trump a Nazi fascist. Hello, Hitler was the Democratic Socialist Party. This is reported in a book by Dinesh D'Souza called The Big Lie. And he's been on multiple interviews across social media talking about it. I mean, they themselves call themselves the Democratic Socialist Party. These kids are so ahistorical, they literally believe that the commies are different from the Nazis. When the Nazis and the commies, fascism and both socialism, are simply different variants, different ranges on the spectrum of communism. What we call political Satanism, because it provides the atmosphere and civilization for actual Satanism to take control, and actual satanic culture like murdering babies and pedophile cults and sexcapades and deviant sex, all those kind of things become protected. And they're trying to call Trump a Nazi because he wants to pull out of globalism, that is worldwide communism. He wants to have national sovereignty, which means he wants self-determination. He wants people to decide for themselves what they want and not be controlled by central planners who in their ivory towers decide what everybody's going to eat, what everybody's going to wear, how everybody's going to be educated, what everybody's going to learn, what everybody's going to be able to say, whatever it is, but it would play on the radio, what's going to be able to be driven, what's going to be able to be done in terms of property, what's going to be able to be done in terms of every regulated thing in your life. And what's hilarious about it, in 1984, there was the slogan in the book, the dystopian fiction novel, predicting the dystopian future of America or the free world. In that was the slogan, war is peace. And guess what? Antifa's literal slogan is war is peace. I mean, this is like ridiculous. These kids are out of 1984 and they don't even realize that they're not the good guys. They're the freaking bad guys. And they're there on their little crusades, their little socialist, Marxist, brainwashed professor crusades, doing it for the teachers, doing it for the teachers. Antifa, stand strong. There it is. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. That is literally the mottos of Antifa. They scream death to America. They say America's not truly free because it doesn't have communism. They say war is peace, which is the reason why they're waging war on Trump. In what they say, they have to make peace by waging war against the nation and death to America, because America is the root of all evil in the world. They agree with Sharia law. They agree with radical Islam. They agree with Saudi Arabia. They agree with our enemies. The petition that is being passed around saying that Antifa must be called a terrorist organization is correct. They are a terrorist organization. Everybody in government is supposed to swear allegiance to the United States and to vow eternal hostility against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These are domestic terrorists that got caught yesterday trying to blow up using IEDs, a bomb, trying to blow up a statue in Houston. There it is. Look at that. CNN's take on Antifa. Peace through violence. War is peace. Peace through violence. War is peace. Do you understand? You're not the good guys. You are the bad guys. Do you understand? You're not the heroes. You are the freaking anti-heroes. Do you understand? You are not the protagonists. You are the antagonists, you stupid idiots! The Stalins, the Lenin Guard, the Maoist Guard, they literally dress the same way, wearing stupid hidden masks, black masks, Hitler's regimes, black mass, Hitler Youth. I mean, they're acting exactly the same. It's textbook communism, textbook fascism, which is simply the collusion of government and corporate powers, where government basically takes over and controls all corporate entities. CNN normalizes Antifa. Leftists seek peace through violence. There you go. War is strength. Look at these riled up, lunatic, brainwashed white kids that have gone to overpaid schools, have useless degrees, are in debt slavery, and are told the problems of that is because of Donald Trump and white supremacists, when it's the Marxist professors that have screwed them. But they brainwashed them in these overpriced universities, giving them absolutely no education but indoctrination, that their actual slaveholders are their actual freedom givers. I mean, look at these nutbags. These little beta male cucks, little skinny 130-pound little punks. I mean, look how pathetic they are. Totally dishonorable idiots. Bring gas masks and clubs to free speech rallies where there's non-violent protests. And they get away with it. They're protected by the mainstream media, who is complicit and is duplicitous and is the cause for all this upheaval. The 6 major companies and the 10 major TV executives get to determine civil war for America and screw up everybody else's time. You're talking about people who screw up other people's lives. These stupid elites are screwing up people's lives. These idiots have to get out of the way. And now today they're planning a 5,600 people anti-Trump rally. Gee, do you think that might be another Antifa nutbag situation? I guess it will not be, Tim. Especially if Joe Arpaio gets pardoned. Trump is making his first visit to Arizona. 56,000 people are trying to make an anti-Trump rally. Gee whiz.
McCain territory.
Do you know what would happen? Do you think some Antifa are going to show up trying to do their peace through strength? I mean, peace through war. 1984 antagonist, anti-hero activity. These people are so brave. They're so sick. They're mentally ill. They're in a cult. They literally don't know what planet they're living on. They think they're fighting the Klingons or something. They're living in Star Trek rerun episodes, watching Star Wars on replay VHS videos, playing Eminem in the background, thinking they're badass, talking about, I got an AK-47, and this is the hole where the clip goes in. Oh my gosh, these kids are so pathetic. They're mentally ill. They're mental patients. These are the mental patients that want to run the loony bin, everybody. They want you to give control to the loony bin, of the loony bin, to the loonies. News alert, newsflash, America. They want to give control of the asylum and or of the hospital to the insane ward. You see those people in straitjackets? They want us to put them in power and rule the hospital. And if we don't, we'll be called racist and white supremacists. Because even though they receive funding from the greatest white supremacist on the planet, or one of them, George Soros. Who did it? Oh, Crowder did an interesting video. Crowder, guys, look up Steven Crowder's recent videos. He did interesting videos on George Soros-funded activities. Grassroots of the Left. He did just a recent video on that. Grassroots of the Left, showing these organizations that claim they receive no George Soros funding, but whoopsie daisy! Just a little bit of their affiliate organizations show. What is that? Funding from George Soros! Oh my gosh. These people are so pathetic. Oh my Lord. There it is. There's Steven Crowder crashing the anti-Trump gay karaoke night party. Crashed by Steven Crowder. Go ahead, play this clip. Oh my gosh.
Year of the protest. A citizen uprising of millions of united liberals against fascism, racism, and insert other ism here. The Women's March, Fight for 15, Antifa. The numbers are huge and growing. But what if I were to tell you that that's all fake?
This is systemic, it's institutional, it's structural.
Meet today's leftist grassroots. That protest right there.
They just repeat the same talking points that they're taught by their handlers and their slave-owning, white supremacist, white Marxist professors.
Some important background info. Indivisible is one of the premier grassroots liberal organizations founded by people like former Democrat congressional staffers Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg and Angel Padilla. As a matter of fact, they're so grassroots that they even go out of their way to tell you on their Facebook page that they are not
American-hating
funded by George Soros, you guys.
Deep state operatives.
Only they have partnered with MoveOn.org and the Working Families Project, who receive financing directly from George Soros. And their co-founder previously worked for National Council of La Raza, who receives funding from George Soros, and currently works as an analyst at the National Immigration Law Center, directly supported by the Open Societies Foundation, funded by George Soros. Totally grassroots.
Stop the video. See that?
Like these make huge claims.
They always say, "Oh, we're totally grassroots. We're totally grassroots. We're not funded by George Soros. We're totally grassroots." And then every single person on their staff is funded by George Soros. This is how they have no sense of honor, no sense of ethics. They just lie through their fangs. They don't have teeth, they have fangs. Lie through their fangs. Just spew out lies through their fangs. It's all about the illusion. The illusion. Political Satanism is all about the illusion. Oh, we're such good people. Oh, we're virtue signaling. We're moral posturing. We're so good people. We donate so much to charity. Go ahead, pick up Tucker Carlson and argues with a liberal professor. A blonde hair bimbo professor saying that she should raise taxes to 80% of the 1%. 80% she thinks, 83% she thinks we should raise it to. Meanwhile, Tucker Carlson confronts her and says, okay, so why don't you give 80% first? You are an affluent, you are in the upper class. And she goes, well, I'm not in the top 1%. I give already 30% of my taxes, and I donate a lot to charity. Well, why don't it doesn't need to stop you from that. You can still donate, send 50% more to the federal government. Send it to Washington. Why don't you set the example? Let's play this clip. Is this right? Go ahead.
Well, today is tax day, the day in which you and more than 100 million other Americans ritually provide the federal government with 10, 20, or even 30% of your income, maybe 40 or higher, to finance our vast federal bureaucracy and various bombing campaigns around the world.
And 76% gets eaten by the federal bureaucracy. It goes to these stupid government place salaries.
College out in California, and she loves tax day so much she wants to expand it bigly.
Look at that blonde-haired
upping the
bimbo.
top tax brackets in America to 80% or more.
Stupid Professor
Hellman
Bimbo.
joins us.
Hey, Professor
Thanks for coming
Bimbo.
out.
Thanks, Tucker.
So I just want to get to
Thanks,
motive here for a
Tucker.
second. Do you want
I'm
the tax
so
rate to go up to
intelligent.
pay for more stuff, or
I
is it a way
want to
punish
chase
rich
out
people?
all the upper class in
Well,
America.
neither of those things. And let's be clear, I'm not talking about taxes for your viewers. I'm talking about taxes for the top 1%, and I'm not even talking about all of their income. I'm talking about the marginal tax rate, the highest rate, which right now is set at $470,000. So I'm talking about wealthy individuals who on $470,000 plus would be taxed at a much higher rate than they are now. And in fact, historically, for example, under Eisenhower and JFK, they were taxed at 91%. Now they're taxed at less than 40%. And this has meant that we've scrimped on the social safety net, we've scrimped on education. There are lots of things that this money could go for.
Well, we spend more on those than almost anyone else in the world. But to answer my question, I mean, you want to buy more stuff. It's not just because you object to the existence of rich people. You're not trying to hurt them. You just want to pay for more stuff.
Well, I don't think rich people are held to the same standards as other taxpayers. So I think that there are loopholes in their armies of lawyers
What
and
about
estate
you,
planners
Professor
that allow them
Bimbo?
to hide their wealth. I would
Why
like
don't
to see
you
that money
send
go
your
into the economy. I
80%
mean, taxes
now?
are the price we pay for civilization. I would love to see, free higher education. I would love to see
but
our
you're such
infrastructure,
a
our
good
crumbling
person. You do
infrastructure
so
system,
much charity
funded
work,
in the United States.
Professor
There are a lot of things
Bimbo.
that this money could go for if, wealthy people were fairly taxed, and they just aren't.
So you're from an
well, we
affluent
were
family.
fairly
What does your mom think of this?
My parents, my family gives a lot in philanthropy, just as I do. I'm not in the top 1%, but we are people who practice what we
yes, of
preach,
course.
and that means that
You
we
don't
give a lot
have
of
to
money
do
away
it,
in
of
terms of
course,
nonprofits.
because you're so
I also use
charitable.
tipping of servers as a mechanism for redistributing
Wait,
wealth.
I'm confused. Okay, no, but I'm for all those things. I'm for philanthropy, and I'm especially for tipping waiters. I agree with you 100% on that, and so God bless you.
Glad
But
to
why?
hear it, Tucker.
But you're asking other people.
Did you hear? She
to give
said,
their money to
I
the
do
government.
social distributive justice by tipping waiters. Do you see this bimbo? Has got an overpriced degree and is internally passive aggressive because she paid too much and she's in student debt. She's still paying her student debt. She's still paying her student loans. Oh Lord, what a bimbo! Go ahead, play it.
Why aren't you giving 70% of your income to the government? You could.
Well, I'm not in the top 1%, but I have no
No,
issue.
you don't need to be.
Well, that's the argument I'm making, right? That it's not about working class Americans or people like me who are upper income Americans. It's about really the wealthiest top 1%. Now,
But you're-
I have
but
no
hold on,
issue
wait, you're a college
paying
professor. I'm
taxes.
not attacking you, by
I
the
pay
way, at
about
all.
30%.
But
I know you're not.
Why not pay 70%? I don't understand. Like, what's holding you back? Why not lead by
Well,
example?
Tucker, you know what's holding me back? If I knew how to do that, I would have no issue doing that. But the tax
Just
code is
suddenly you can't answer.
Totally. No,
Professor
let me simplify
Bimbo.
it for you. Just write a check, pay your taxes, then figure out what you pay 30%, you said. Just figure out what another 40% of your income would be, and just send it to the U.S. Treasury. Washington, D.C., no zip code required.
You know what
Go
I
ahead.
do, Tucker? You know what I do instead of that? Because we don't have a fair system of taxation, I
Okay.
write checks to nonprofits that are providing services that
Oh,
the
moral
government
posture.
shouldn't provide.
Okay, but
So
then-
I write checks to Planned Parenthood. I write
Oh,
checks to
baby
nonprofits
killer.
that provide a safety net. for
Baby
people.
organ
It has
harvester.
no effect.
I think you maybe, but it doesn't actually.
Well,
so
you're
why not
such a
pass a
good
law requiring
girl.
people
Oh,
to send money to charity?
you're
It's
a
more effective
professor.
than the government
Well,
is. I mean, so you're basically
that would be-
conceding.
that would be
you're
great,
conceding
too. As
that
long
the
as the
government is not the
1%
most
are actually-
efficient way to
No.
lift up the poor. Then why won't you send it
Well,
to the
you know,
government then?
Tucker, I would say this train wreck of a Trump government is certainly not the best way to serve the poor, since they have no interest in serving the poor. But
Okay.
in general, I think government does a fine job providing the services
Well,
that it
I'm
does
just
a safety net.
asking you to practice what you preach. Let me just ask you one other question here.
I do practice what I preach.
Well, no, you don't.
I-
You're
more-
telling me
more-
you're
you
sending
don't,
money to
you
the
little
government, you're not.
bimbo.
So, like, I
I'm
get
telling
you
the
don't
top
wanna
1%.
walk the walk.
No, Tucker, don't.
Oh, no, 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 no. Is that your
I am
academic
telling the top
language?
1%.
No, 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 no.
I'm telling the government
No, 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 no. You
If the top about
call me
taxation, I
out.
actually think
No,
I'm
no, no, no,
taxing
no.
fairly.
I get to live
choose
above all
to
the laws.
spend
No, no,
way
no, no,
more
no,
than
no, no, no,
the
no,
majority of
no,
my income
no.
on other people. I choose to do
but
that,
not
but we're not
to the
talking about
government
me.
that you're asking
We're
other
talking
people.
about.
Of course, we're not talking about you. You don't want to do
We're
it. Why
talking
would you
about
want
the
to do it? It
top
sounds
one.
awful.
Tucker,
70%.
no, you don't get to do this. You
Totally
don't get to
tucked by
lie. You
Tucker.
don't get- No, Tucker, you don't get to put words in my mouth. We're talking
I'm just
about
noting
the
the
top
obvious,
1%.
Professor.
You're noting the
Noting the
obvious.
obvious,
I'm not in the top
Professor.
1%. It's not about me.
Oh,
It's
look
not
how
an
outraged
argument
he is.
about me.
How dare you call me out? How dare you call me out on my moral posturing? How dare you call me out that I don't want to be taxed 80%, but I want everybody else to be taxed 80%? How dare you? Aren't you mesmerized by my beauty? Aren't you mesmerized by my accolades and my professorship? Aren't you accolades by my no. What a pathetic blonde bimbo. Stop the video. Pathetic blonde bimbo. What a hypocritical bimbo blonde pathetic fake professor who's still paying off her student debt and is passive aggressive to people because she wants those funds stolen from people so that she can steal more of it in her little stupid departments, universities that are taking federal money to fund their ridiculous brainwashing indoctrination camp. I mean, kids are being educated by arrogant, total hypocrites like that. Who are, oh, they're so smart. They're raising the next leadership of the universe. They're raising the Spider-Mans and the, what are the other stupid Marvel heroes? I don't even know. That's how ridiculous it is. There you go, folks. I'm seriously considering a pardon for Sheriff Arpaio, said the president last week, talking to Fox News. He's done a lot in the fight against illegal immigration. He's a great American patriot, and I hate to see what has happened to him. That's good. He should. He should totally pardon him. He could face 6 months in federal prison when he's sentenced in October. In an interview Thursday, Arpaio told NPR that he would welcome a Trump pardon. It makes me feel good that at least someone is backing me up. And how much better can you get than the President of the United States? As far as the situation on a pardon, I didn't ask for it, but I will accept it if he does do it. He should do it. Trump has to do it. If he does not do it, that will be a huge disappointment. And we know that he is seriously getting compromised by the three generals that are starting to dominate his internal space. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
You've been living in slow motion. Not a power on the earth can stand against you. Every army up in heaven fighting with you. Don't let your fear keep you frozen.
$6.58. $6.14. $6.46. Time 471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. The 40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the MagnaPorting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
We are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. We now go to Tim Elder for a very important report. Tim.
Well, the special prosecutor who's supposed to be looking into some kind of collusion by between the Trump campaign last year and Russia is trying to find something, not leaving any stone unturned. And right now his focus appears to be on Paul Manafort, who was head of the Trump campaign for a few months in 2016. And they're looking into his finances, his personal finances, and that seems to be where the focus of this investigation is going now.
They don't check Hillary Clinton, though.
Right? Yeah. There needs to be.
They don't check Obama, though.
There needs to be a different.
They don't check Bezos getting $600 million from the CIA.
Needs to be a different special prosecutor, I think, for that. Paul Manafort's placed in the crosshairs of special counsel Robert Mueller's probe into the Kremlin attempts to sway the 2016 presidential election seems to be growing
Kremlin.
more
The
uncomfortable.
Russians again.
Yes.
Yes, the Russians. They're responsible for everything. Yes, the Russians. The Russians are behind every plank in your house. The Russians are everywhere.
Two sources familiar with the inquiry tell McClatchy
Nutbags.
News Service that investigators are working to confirm information indicating that Manafort and the consulting firms he led earned between $80 million and $100 million over a decade from pro-Moscow Ukrainian and Russian clients. Mueller's expanded focus on Manafort's complicated financial picture is zeroing in on whether he may have evaded taxes or engaged in any money laundering schemes, the sources say, and the hunt for his financial records through a labyrinth of offshore banks and business accounts has become an important prong in the investigation. So they're now not investigating Russian collusion, they're investigating tax evasion and money laundering, it seems. So they've strayed pretty far from their original purpose. I guess they couldn't find anything in the Russian collusion front. Overall, the probe centers on whether anyone on Donald Trump's campaign or other Trump associates assisted Moscow's election meddling. Russian cyber mischief last year was designed to help the real estate mogul win in November. They say this is a publication that has already decided that there was a meddling.
Russian meddling, they say.
Right.
In election, Russian meddling.
Yeah, but the special prosecutors not
that
looking
is
into
a fact.
They're not looking into that because Mueller's team may also pursue any matters that are found in the course of the probe. So they can go off on any tangent that they want. Manafort, who chaired the Trump campaign for 3 months in mid-2016 and earlier spent 2 months coordinating the search for pro-Trump delegates, is a prime target as investigators attempt to win the cooperation of key members of the campaign's inner circle, said the sources who spoke in condition of anonymity because the inquiry is confidential. So what they're doing is going after Manafort, hoping that if they get some dirt on him, then they can turn him against Trump. So that's the purpose of this investigation. Manafort,
what a pathetic, it's an open, in-your-face witch hunt.
Mm-hmm. So,
because they can't find any Russian collusion. These people are so despicable.
Mm-hmm. That's what it
to
says.
pretend this is due process or to pretend this is some kind of fair investigation is ridiculous.
Whether Manafort can be squeezed, they're trying to squeeze him. Whether Manafort can be squeezed depends in part on whether
They admit it.
Yes.
Admit it!
Whether he failed to report financial income in overseas bank accounts annually to the Internal Revenue Service as required by law. The volume of money said to be involved and the time elapsed could put him at significant risk.
Oh, but they won't talk about Hillary and Bill Clinton's overseas accounts,
Right.
and Obama's overseas accounts, and his connection with Indonesia and all these crazy countries. Give me a break!
So that sort of pressure could cause Manafort to cut a deal with Mueller under which he might receive leniency in return for divulging what contact he and other Trump aides had with Russian officials and operatives during 2016.
They won't talk about Hillary Rodham's Clinton Foundation that took 93% of the money, millions of dollars that were supposed to go to Haitian children that they stole and used for their bureaucracy and for themselves. Ridiculous. Give me a freaking break talking about, oh, we're trying to go after Manafort. Oh, yes, we're going after all his transactions. Yes, oh, whoops, we couldn't find anything about Russia. Well, we're looking at different tangents now. We're trying to find more stuffs. These people they're criminals. Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts to see this every day. Houston man charged with trying to plant a bomb at a Confederate statue in Herman Park. And again, it's another suburban white kid who has been radicalized. Suburban white kid, and this is what's so sad. These suburban white kids are, this is interesting. That even on one of the pastors on Wretched TV, we're talking about it. When you tell people Jesus loves you or Jesus does not like your sin, first of all, they don't know what the heck sin is. They're so non-Christian now. America is now a post-Christian society. Most people don't even know the actual message of the gospel. Most people don't even know what sin equals. They just think it means you're a bad person, and they don't understand the nature of sin or understand sin at all. They don't even know the principles of Christianity. They may live in a post-Christian society with some remnants of Christianity, but they actually have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And then he gives evidence of interviews he does on the street when he's witnessing to young people. But they have no idea what he's talking about. Do you have sin? No, I'm a good person. Do you think there's, will you go to heaven or hell? Well, I don't really even believe in hell. These kind of argumentations. I mean, they have no idea what the Christian is talking about, okay? So you have these young suburban white kids who may look like the, waspy, Anglo-Saxon Christian person of the past, America. But these kids in their brain, in their minds, in their ideology have no semblance of Christianity. They have no semblance of Christian ethics. Now, in the time of the Founding Fathers and the Pilgrims, yes, maybe you could talk to people about, we must repent. And everybody can understand what that means because there's such a dominant Christian culture. Whereas in post-Christendom in the U.S., you don't have that general consensus, general knowledge. So young people don't even know. They think being Christian means going to church and then they're a good person, they're saved. That's what they think. These kids may actually go to church. I'm not even sure. We don't even know, but they get radicalized by these leftist ideologies. Some of the state-run Christian churches, like Catholicism, which is a state-run church. It is a state church, literally a state-run church that has its own state. Is a Christian state-run church or an organization that teaches obedience to the state. And of course, indoctrinates young children on the necessity to obey the state. So you have these kids that are being radicalized by liberal lunatic professors, and of course the Catholic Church promoting liberation theology, which is of course a communism, painting Jesus in a communist paintbrush, saying that Jesus wanted centralized power and Jesus wanted to make communism worldwide and Jesus really is a Maoist. I mean, this is so ridiculous. In any case, bomb squad experts detonated cache of high-powered explosives found on the property Monday afternoon as residents waited to return to their homes. A park ranger spotted him kneeling in the bushes by a 112-year-old Confederate statue, explosives in hand. Was he trying to harm the statue, she asked. Yes, he said. He didn't like the guy. The late-night confrontation in the statue of Confederate Lieutenant Dick Dowling, detailed in court records by a federal agent, led to the arrest of 25-year-old Andrew Schneck, setting off a 2-day operation by law enforcement that forced the evacuation of Tony Wrights University neighborhood, where Schneck lives with his parents. Suburban, spoiled white kid who has become radicalized by Marxist professors and liberal lunatics that have inducted them into his cult. To show his faithfulness, he must, like ISIS, like the Muslim terrorists, like ISIS, he must yell death to America. He must go and bomb statues regarding to American history. Doesn't matter if those statues are, you know, you can be against statues, you can do all this stuff, okay? People at a local level have the right to put up a statue or take down those statues. All right? But you can't just go bomb public places. That you can't, that's terrorism, okay? When you start incorporating bombs in it and you're not using due process to try to remove it and just try to make a movement to raise awareness of why you want that statue removed, fine, you do that. But you don't go plant explosives like ISIS. That puts people in harm's way, and who knows, there could be a child that's pushing a stroller right in front of that thing when it blows up. Now you've been a murderer, you murdered a child and you blew up a child. And maybe that child has an arm blown off and a leg blown off, and now they have to live with that the whole rest of their life with a disfigured face. These people live in video game land. They've learned nothing about consequences. They have no idea of inflicting harm on others because in their video games, they just kill hundreds of thousands of people with no consequence. They're mentally ill mental patients. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And there you go. They are terrorists. They are terrorists. They are engaging in terrorist activity. Terrorist activity. Of course, the danger of this, of course, is that as Trump clamps down on them and punishes them harshly, which he has to, of course, it will only create more radicalization. And as it creates more radicalization, they will lead to more of these type of terrorist attacks. But there's no way to stop that. If you just treat them nice and try to surrender, it just makes it worse. So in the end, you have to grin and bear it and take them down hard. Punish them hard. But of course, they got the whole deep state apparatus trying to protect them, and the mainstream media trying to protect them, and the liberal lunatic institutions and professors and universities protecting them. So then those people have to be in prison too, if they're supposed to be, if they're radicalizing people, and they're supporting people to do terrorism, because they're aiding and abetting terrorism then. And you have to come upon them hard. If you don't, they'll only radicalize more and do more terrorist activity. And yes, in the initial stage of confronting them strongly, they will try to lash out and go back, fight back. But as you clamp down on them, that will dwindle over time. But it won't be a short thing. It may take years and years. It's like fighting ISIS. These people are literally becoming ISIS. These white suburban kids are becoming ISIS. Allying with ISIS. Literally allying with ISIS. Literally taking on the strategic tactics of ISIS. Literally trying to yelling, shouting, death to America. Literally saying freedom is bad. Literally trying to censor everybody. Literally supporting rules to wear white gloves when you touch the Quran. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is the America we are living in today. And Trump is trying to stop it. And that's why they hate him and want him dead. We need your prayers. Trump needs your prayers, folks. We need to be on our knees praying for this country, because this is a serious time that we are living through. Be right back after this short break. Stay with us. See you on the other side.
Your sun down and set me free.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, the second king of Chanilguk. In other news, Tiger Woods and actress Katharine McPhee are among several stars whose purported nude pictures appear on the site. Tiger Woods and his Olympic skier ex-girlfriend Lindsey Vonn are among the latest stars to be victimized by a hacker and a website that posted their private nude photos online. After the images surfaced, Woods' attorney Michael Holtz of Lavely and Singer sent the site a letter threatening legal action if the photos aren't removed. TMZ initially reported that the letter had been sent by Holtz's colleague Martin Singer. Katharine McPhee, Kristen Stewart, and Miley Cyrus are also among the celebrities exploited by the site, which has an entire section dedicated to nude celebs. The site routinely posts real and fake intimate images of famous women without permission, and then removes them after receiving letters such as this. Singer reportedly sent the site a similar letter back in December after it posted hacked photos of Pretty Little Liar star Lucy Hale, who responded by telling the hackers to kiss my ashtray. Reps for McPhee, Stewart, and Cyrus have not responded to a request for comment or whether they are also considering legal action. And there you go. That's why you don't take pictures of yourself nude or in your bikini on your phone, because it's public picture then. It basically becomes public picture because Apple owns your photos. And the organizations that give you you buy your phone from have in their contracts and terms agreements that basically everything you do with your phone and contacts and emails and photos, all that, they own. How ridiculous is that? It's ridiculous. And of course, you have the illegal spying by the NSA that can take and hack into any phone through the back doors. By law, they've made the companies create those loopholes for national security. Remember, mind you, not always national security. It's national security, so that's why we need to hack into the celebrities and get their nude photos. This is ridiculous. This is what these control freaks are always doing. Spending more time monitoring Twitter. Paul Joseph Watts talking about that all the time. The British UK government spending more taxpayer money monitoring Twitter accounts instead of going after real terrorists on terrorist lists and deportation lists. They don't go after them. They don't follow them. They have whole teams following Twitters and conservatives posting things that may insult Islam. Yet you have people who are right about to kill people and do mass terrorist attacks, and they're not investigated. This is ridiculous. We're living in the twilight zone. Also, Darling reports President H.R. McMaster's huge foreign policy blunder. Brian Darling reports, I voted for Donald Trump because he promoted a foreign policy of restraint. I did the Trump agenda to control Donald Trump campaign, nation building. For all those progressives who are good. The nation-building hawks have won and now expect the Weekly Standard's Bill Kristol to cheer the president's foreign policy conversion from a rhetoric of restraint view to one embraced by the interventionist wing of the Republican Party, including Lindsey Graham and John McCain. So sad. Despite the fact that President Trump announced that we are not nation-building again, he is in denial about the fact that he is maintaining the nation-building policies that he campaigned against as a candidate. President Trump's policy is similar to that of President Obama's and Bush. I was worried after the missile strike earlier this year against Syrian government that this administration was slouching towards an interventionist agenda that ignored the folly of investing trillions of dollars in a country half a world away and putting Americans in harm's way for a goal that is impossible to explain to average Americans. There is no goal in the endless war in Afghanistan. The president is asking Americans to risk their lives and their children's life for what? Heroin poppy seeds! That's what they're defending there. I agree with my former boss, Senator Rand Paul, who announced today the mission of Afghanistan was lost its purpose, and I think it's a terrible idea to send any more troops into that war. And Senator Paul is parroting the same talking points that Donald Trump spoke on the campaign trail, the same words that one might support for Trump. I may have made a mistake to believe candidate Trump. Senator Paul wants to force Congress to reauthorize a war that not many in Congress were around 16 years ago to vote for. He has a resolution that states the following, sense of Congress. The president cannot conduct ongoing U.S. military operations against ISIS without an AUMF from Congress authorizing such conduct. Congress should debate and pass a new authorization. Congress should reauthorize our nation's longest war, yet this Congress have proved themselves cowards. They're proven worthless this past year, so don't expect a vote giving the president some authority to continue the endless war in Afghanistan anytime soon. The leadership can barely debate tax reform, so don't expect Senator Paul Ryan or Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to commence a debate on the endless wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Congress can't be relied upon to do their constitutional duty to authorize or not authorize a continuing war in Afghanistan. I agree with candidate Trump when he was opposed to continuing the Afghan war. This is one reason why I voted for the guy. CNBC reported that the many statements candidate Trump made opposed to the war, including the following: Afghanistan is a complete waste. Time to come home. We should leave Afghanistan immediately. No more wasted lives. We have to go back in. We go in hard and quick. Rebuild the U.S. first. And let's get out of Afghanistan. Our troops are being killed by the Afghanis. We train and we waste billions there. Nonsense. Rebuild the USA. That was the guy I voted for, not the one I saw tonight. Polling indicates that Americans lost confidence in Trump. Response to Charlottesville conflict, I'm pretty sure that non-Americans will base their vote in 2020 on the events in Charlottesville, VA. They are more likely to be concerned about the long-term consequences of continuing the policies of endless wars with no end and no goal. Private sector candidate Trump would likely tweet at the current president, "This President Trump is wrong, wrong, wrong on Afghanistan. Rebuild the U.S. and stop wasting resources the world away. Make America great again." President Trump made a very bad decision in Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure the candidate Donald Trump would be very angry with President Donald Trump, tossing aside one of the pillars of his campaign to please the nation-building lobbyists who want endless war in Afghanistan. And there you go.
As there are more and more failed states around the world, I wonder if we're going to have to use the same logic and go into each and every one of them. Venezuela, for example, looks like it's on the way to becoming a failed state. If Europe becomes Islamicized and ISIS and so forth start working out of Europe, are we going to start bombing Europe?
The Islamicization is coming. There you go, folks. When Europe becomes Islamicized, will the U.S. go in and bomb Europe? That's true. Using the liberal lunatic logic and the Rhino Republican logic, we have to continue to risk our children's lives to go into endless wars where they pocket all the money. Ridiculous. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Surely alive, he's living on the inside. world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017, broadcasting live from the Cheonilgung Palace. To all the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God, I'm your host, Hyungju Sean Moon, Second King of Cheonilgung. And here we're joined by Tom Ryan, who is Executive Director of Vet Stock for Pike and Monroe Counties. Tom Ryan is a retired Army veteran receiving a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star for his duty in Vietnam. Thank you for your service, Tom. He is a supervisor and chairman for Delaware Township in Pike County, PA. Tom is a vice chair of the American Legion Post 139 and executive director of Vet Stock for Pike and Monroe Counties. Vet Stock's mission is in raising money for service organizations and concentrates on homes for our vets. HFOT. Tom also rides with the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, baby, which is over 15,000 strong across the United States of America. We are so honored and blessed to have a patriot and hero, Tom Ryan, here in person with us today. And Tom, we were talking during the break about why it's so important that the citizens are armed, and we are the last defense for freedom and liberty, against tyrants, against totalitarians, against authoritarians, against commies, against socialists, against anybody who wants to take over centralized power. We talked about Switzerland army system. We talked about in Korea, we were trying to work with the Korean military and the Defense Department to move the military towards the Swiss model, South Korea. That's South Korea, that is. To get them, the Korean men who go to military service, when they come back, bring the guns back, get them closer to the civilians. Then the civilians can learn gun safety, and why, to use firearms. And also it prepares them just in case North Korea tries to do something crazy or China tries to do something nuts. The citizens are armed. Give me your take about why the right to bear arms is such a critical element to freedom and liberty. Go ahead, Tom.
Let me just make a correction too. I'm not a supervisor any longer.
Okay, there you go. You're free from that duty.
I'm a free man. I'm fully retired now, that's for sure. So an armed citizenry is key. It's a key element, I think, anyway, to the freedom of the country.
Yes.
We have the largest standing army in the world that are armed here in this country, and that's because of the Second Amendment. Military. We have the largest trained military standing army, even though you're not in the ranks of the armed forces. You still have that training, and you're still able to understand how to use a firearm, or how just where your position is. What is it that you're trying to do? That's primarily maintain a government that we have. We might disagree with the people that are in the government, but the Constitution stands. We don't take an oath to protect the people in Congress. We take an oath to defend the Constitution. So it doesn't matter who's in the House of Representatives or the Senate. It doesn't matter. It's just our oath is to defend the Constitution. And recently we've gotten very close to just abandoning the Constitution and doing something else.
Now, as a vet and somebody who risked your life on the front line, you did it. You did it. You didn't just talk about it. You did it in the jungles of Vietnam. You put your life on the line. You got people trying to blow up historical monuments. Now, yesterday, police detained an individual, Caucasian young man from suburbia, who has been brainwashed by Marxist ideology and leftist Antifa, trying to blow up statues in Houston. And you also have Christopher Columbus statues that are being torn down. This is in Baltimore, the Baltimore Sun reporting about that. Thomas Jefferson, Vice magazine, Vice documentary films, tweeting out, we should blow up Mount Rushmore. You have celebrities like Kathy Griffin holding up decapitated heads of President Trump. You have the media saying, kill Trump supporters, kill Trump supporters. You have the FBI former deputy director, Mudd, that comes on CNN and says this government is going to kill Trump. How do they get away with speaking like this? Like literally like terrorists. They're speaking like ISIS.
I agree.
How do they get away with speaking like ISIS, protecting radical Islam, trying to bring 600,000 more radicalized Muslim Islamicists from war-torn countries? How do they get away with this? Isn't it a crime to say kill the president?
Apparently not any longer. You have to be on the left, and you can say whatever you want. If we were on the right, they would be in jail right now. And that's the way it would work. I just don't see it. And the blowing up of monuments, or even a removal of any monument, is that what that I think that is that when I was a kid, which was a couple of years ago, you're taught. Your parents teach you the respect of the history of this country. We stopped teaching the history of country. We started teaching current affairs and what's happening today. So if you asked a young, one of these talk
millennials,
a millennial, one of these talk shows, if you said to them, what did Thomas Jefferson do? What exactly did he do? They wouldn't know. They just know he's a statue that represents.
They say he's a racist and he's a white supremacist. He's a homophobe.
Yeah, in the
he's
meantime,
an Islamophobe.
If I'm correct, he never owned a slave. But when do we pass?
Crazy.
At what point in our history, and we're well over 100 years that the Civil War took place. What point in our history do we move past all of that and say that's our history and this is now, and that's all part of history, every little bit of it.
Well, the left has taken over everything. They've taken over education, culture, arts, Hollywood, and they brainwash these children. Literally, they think Thomas Jefferson and George Washington is Satan on earth.
Yeah, I agree.
They think that under Hillary Clinton in the State Department, under Obama, they had a memo that said the Founding Fathers are domestic terrorists.
Well, anyone who belongs to the NRA is a domestic terrorist, according to them. Doesn't matter. You're an NRA member, you're a domestic terrorist.
We're all domestic terrorists.
Yeah, so I wear that one with pride.
But this is meanwhile, they're the ones trying to censor people. Meanwhile, they're the ones who are trying to ban Milo Yiannopoulos, a gay man. This is an openly gay conservative.
Yeah.
And they're trying to ban, they're the ones that say, oh, we're the protectors of homosexuals. And they're the ones that are banning Milo Yiannopoulos in Berkeley. They're the ones that are letting the city burn down. They're the ones who are forcing the Charlottesville, protest to move right into Antifa and start a physical riot. They're the one. All this craziness is coming out about that. By the way, all these feds are all around. These people that CNN. I showed the video yesterday. The CNN people like Brennan that was right there. They were saying I was an accidental witness and I've got film of it right here. This guy happens to be working for the State Department under Hillary Clinton, and then this guy is also the chief of staff of a Democratic candidate there in Virginia.
Yeah.
He just happens to be there. And then another guy, Kessler, Jason Kessler, who was the quote organizer of Unite the Right, happens to be an Obama and Hillary supporter in 2016, writing on his Twitter feed, they just smashed Trump. They just destroyed him in the argumentation. Obama and Hillary, yay, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He happens to be a total leftist, and all of a sudden, he's some Nazi.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Oh my goodness, give me a break.
It's very sad that young woman, poor innocent bystander, gets killed.
It's crazy.
You know, and it's like the right caused it, but I don't see it that way. You know, I see it.
Well, they're saying that's the right. They're trying to lump all these people. Okay, there was a few, you know, supremacists there, but then you had this whole scenario where the police were pushing them into Antifa. They were literally pushing. There's now video out. Walls of policemen pushing these people down the stairs because they know Antifa's waiting there like hungry lions, ready to beat them up, pepper spray in the face. You know, they come in with 2x4s and helmets to these rallies, dressed in ninja outfits. I mean, these kids are crazy. And they come in there, and then there's pushing these people down who actually petitioned, and they worked with the cops for 2 months getting a protest. Look, we don't have to agree with what they say, but people have a freedom of speech. They have a right to say what they're going to say.
Yeah.
They weren't doing a violent protest.
It doesn't matter. You know, you're protected under free speech. Constitution says it. You know, it's not something that is. You have to ask permission because your permit isn't issued to hold the rally. Your permit is issued to use the street or wherever it is.
Right.
So the rally is not the part of the permit. The street, where you're going to locate, is the permit process. So the people are not, their rights aren't infringed. They're allowed to do it. Anyone can do it. And for that matter, depending on where you are, and I don't think it does, is you gather up. Anytime we go to a parade, it's a gathering. It's a gathering of Americans or patriots, anyone really that wants to march in a Veterans Day parade or any other parade.
I mean, look what they did to the Bundys. Remember the Bundys, that whole scandal out there?
Oh, yeah.
Where they were trying to confiscate his land through the BLM and the Bureau of Land Management out there. They're just total thugs out there, okay? Militarized thugs trying to steal private property that was in the family for literally 200 years.
Yeah.
Okay, they've been harvesting, they've been farming out there, they've been raising cattle out there, and they're literally just like poor Mormon farmers.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're going after these guys, literally bringing militarized, weapons, huge cars, to quote, take them out because they're domestic terrorists. And then they designate free speech zones. Did you see this? They have little orange fences where you can go in, you can have your First Amendment space in there.
Yeah.
This is the level of control that we've become.
Yeah, and it's a lot. The left would like more of it. You look at it, and they want to control everything that you do, every move you make, and I didn't think I'd live to the day to see this.
I tell you what, when Jesus Christ came and he said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness." Christ preached the gospel of the kingdom. Wherever he went and preached the gospel of the kingdom, and he identifies the gospel as the kingdom gospel. Whenever he preached about the kingdom of God, that pissed off the establishment. It just made them so angry. They made him so angry, so angry, so angry. Whether it was the hegemony of Pontius Pilate, or whether it was, Herod, or whether it was the Roman emperor. They were so angry that these Christians believed in a different kingdom. They didn't bow down to the rulers of the day. They believed that they had a direct relationship with the King of Kings and that they were co-heirs with him in his kingdom and his righteousness. And that is scary. That's scary to an establishment. That's scary to some central planners that are trying to organize and control everything from a centralized body.
But what is their goal?
What is their goal?
Their goal is to centralize power under them.
There it is right there.
And basically that's when you really take a deep look. And it doesn't have to be that deep because they've become so pronounced lately, is that you just have to look at the surface of it and you say, what do they want? If you give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm talking about the left. You give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, what do you want? And basically it's power, which they're not entitled to.
Ooh, there you go.
It's power.
It's archangelism.
It doesn't matter who it is, where it is, how it is. They want the power to control your thought process, what you say, what you do. So, you know, and that's what it is. And I look at it, you look at it.
And Christians are bad. Christians are bad.
I don't even think it's just Christians with some of them.
I showed the
It's
video.
anyone.
I showed the video this morning. The U.S. military, and David Wood broke it down. The U.S. military, from the Department of State, okay, has a memorandum where when you touch the Quran, you're supposed to call the Holy Quran, okay? You're supposed to wear white gloves. You're supposed to do, McMaster, there's an article on Breitbart this morning. We covered it this morning. McMaster supported a memo and a process where the military has to do a kissing ceremony of the Quran when they feel that they've defaced or they've insulted the Muslim populations. They do a ceremony with white gloves. They handle the book with the right hand, and they have to kiss it in apology to the Muslim population that's there. Meanwhile, and David Wood's video showed it. We showed it right today. Meanwhile, they burned over 200 Bibles that were sent to Afghanistan because they said that it was going to start a civil war or whatever. But it's okay to burn Bibles, but you have to treat the Quran with white gloves. And remember, this is a book. This is a book and a prophet that married a 6-year-old girl and was having sex with her at 9 years old, which is the reason why this child marriage is legal. This is the same prophet that had sex slaves, allowed his conquerors to conquer nations and take women as sex slaves on top of the 4 wives that you were allowed. And this is a complete, that allows for also female genital mutilation, FMB, total different civilization. And we've been told, we've been brainwashed, indoctrinated from preschool to be told all religions are the same. All civilizations are the same. Christianity is bad, but Christianity is the same as Islam, so don't discriminate. Don't be a Islamophobe. But when you look into it, it's a radically different culture. It has a political system, Sharia law.
Yeah.
Which has taxes, which has political offices, which has a centralized caliphate. And it's radically different than any Western democratic constitution. But yet we should just let them pour in because we're bad, because we're Christian.
We need a correction.
Just let them pour in and punish us.
Someone on the left decided we need a correction.
And we have to be grateful for being raped and pillaged and plundered. This is the state of affairs we live in today. My goodness, folks, let's take a short break. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us. Oh my goodness, this gave me a headache every day.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning here with Patriot Tom Ryan. And we are breaking down why Trump is so angering to the establishment. Why does everybody hate him? Why do leftist lunatics, obviously we know why they hate him. And of course the Rhino Republicans, they all hate him too. All the establishment hate him. Why do they all hate him? You can know a man by his enemies, an old saying says. Why is it that all the global elite are against Trump? You have the climate change people that hate Trump. You have all the greenies that hate Trump. You have all celebrity cult that hates Trump. You have all of Silicon Valley that hates Trump. You have all the monopolies and Federal Reserve and the international bankers in the Bilderberg Group that hates Trump. You have the EU and Merkel that hates Trump. You have all the communist nations that hate Trump. You have everybody is against him. All the super elites which all want communism worldwide, world government worldwide. The Council on Foreign Relations stated goal under David Rockefeller saying that they want to diminish American sovereignty and bring us under world governance. I mean, this is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. You have the deep state that hates him. You have all the Obama holdovers on the CIA that hate him. You have us running the poppy fields in Afghanistan, trying to get us in more wars. We are in a total, unbelievable scenario. And you can know a man by his enemies. Look at all Trump's enemies. Look at all the people that hate him. They hate you. They hate your family. They hate Christians. They hate Christianity. You can't even say Jesus Christ. That's blasphemous. But at the same time, you have to handle the Quran with white gloves, and you have to hold up a pedophile as a prophet. This is ridiculous. This is the society that they are constructing around. And of course, this is the society which we know is political Satanism. They're trying to put transgender bathrooms into elementary schools. They're trying to use the UN Health Sciences education system teaching 5-year-old children to masturbate in public schools. What insanity! They got CPS. Lou Kazakov here, we're talking about CPS and custody for kids. Kidnapping children from their parents. Getting paid $4,000 to $6,000 bonuses once they fulfill their quota. This is an outrage, a complete outrage. And everybody in that establishment who is doing those things, who is lawless and breaking the law and above the law, hates Donald J. Trump. They call him a Nazi. They call him a fascist. They call him a white supremacist. When he employs thousands of blacks and Asians and Hispanics. When he had a poor African American woman who was homeless, he let her live in Trump Tower and brought her flowers every week. But no, the mainstream media doesn't want to cover that. Doesn't want to cover how Trump is trying to help the black community. Doesn't want to tell you how Trump is, of course, boosting the economy, trying to get back over 1 million jobs in the next 5 years. No, none of that has to be mentioned. We just have to mention that Antifa are the heroes, and they're fighting against Trump, the Nazi Hitler. Tom, help me calm down a little bit here. Help me calm down.
You look at it, it's...
Oh, my God.
You hit it on the head. Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. And basically, I consider myself one of Trump's friends, so you look at it that way and you say, look, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. He represents, the reason they do hate him is, and I sometimes I can't figure it out because they say, they're for especially the rhinos, and we have a lot of them now.
Look at McCain, he stopped Obamacare repeal.
I am so disappointed in him.
He had the vote. He had it.
Funny.
We had it.
But he voted before. He voted for it. Prior to that, he voted for repeal. But when the test came down, he was like a little child stomping his feet. That's all that was about. He was a little child stomping his feet like a 4-year-old, saying, "I want my way." And you know what? He had the power to get it. It's like like a 4-year-old who makes enough noise and wants cereal, he's going to get it. That's what he did. He's like a 4-year-old, and you should treat him that way. There are guys and there are people, women and men in that Congress and that represent the population of their districts that need to go home and stay there.
Amen.
Maxine Waters is one of them. She should go home. Pelosi is one. she should go home. Stay there. Go enjoy the rest of your life. But don't hold me hostage. And that's basically what they're doing. They're holding the economy hostage. They're holding every person in this country hostage because they do not want to shed their power. They want, and that's what it's about. It's nothing more than power and control. That's all the whole thing is about. The more power, the more control. They're trying to. They'll let the population in from all these different areas that are coming here illegally. Give them some type of citizenship and let them vote. How do you think they're going to vote? I know how they're going to vote. You know, so you look at it that way.
Let them cut the line.
Yeah, I mean, cut the line. That's exactly right. That's what they're going to do.
Cut the line, then vote Democrat.
And vote. I don't care if they stood on the Daffy Duck Party. They would vote for them because that's the only name they've seen. I've seen Pelosi. Oh, you know what? She's the Donald Duck Party. I'll vote for her. It's the only name they know. They don't know any conservative names. It doesn't work that way.
This is the insanity of the world we are living in. We have porous borders. People are pouring in. Everybody knows it. I mean, you have Veritas Project and James O'Keefe going down there dressed up as Osama bin Laden, crossing the border from Mexico, Texas 3-4 times, did it and captured on film, blew that up. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is the only one who said, hey, President Trump is right. The border is porous. We got MS-13, some of the most brutal, gangs that are pouring in. They're now in Long Island. They're now all over the country. They're now, they decapitate people, hang them upside down, and let them drain out, the blood drain out, and just terrorize Hispanic communities, by the way.
Yes.
They terrorize Hispanic communities. It's the Hispanic communities doesn't want these illegal immigrants coming in. They don't want them coming in because they want to get along, trying to work and feed their families. Meanwhile, they get MS-13 coming in, pouring over the border, letting them free reign by Obama to terrorize them, keep them on their plantation so they can never leave the welfare system. They can never leave the Democratic plantation. They can never find out that the Ku Klux Klan was run by the Democrats. The Ku Klux Klan was against the abolition of slavery. The Democratic Party was against the abolition of slavery. It was the Republican Party that was trying to arm the black communities with the NRA, with guns to protect themselves against the Ku Klux Klan, which was run by the Democratic Party, and had the Grand Dragons in the 80s and 90s were CIA operatives. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous mainstream news. This is how upsetting it is. It's mainstream news. And people are so brain dead and indoctrinated and brainwashed and in a daze of social media and video games that they don't know what planet they're living on. These young kids don't know what planet they're living on. They think they're fighting Klingons or something.
There was a cutoff somewhere. I don't know exactly where it was that went from, when we grew up, or I grew up, it was a family unit. It was always a family unit. I remember going to church as a kid. I was 9 years old. I was 8 years old, go with my father to church. And we had a fairly large congregation where I went to school. It was in Queens. And the church was full. They were standing room only. And then you would see the cops come in. They were given time off to come in and go to mass. They direct traffic. You never see that now. And I don't know where that cutoff took place. Where did we lose that connection with God and country? I don't know. But it's in trouble. I know that.
That's such an important point because the Bible says very clearly, we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers.
Yeah.
And rulers of the wickedness of this world and spiritual wickedness in high places. And look, there is spiritual power. There is a spiritual demonic force that is behind these people. These people are not just people that are just insane, mentally ill. Of course, they are mentally ill and they're being indoctrinated. But there's a spirit behind them. It's the spirit of Satan. The spirit of Satan is behind
something is driving it. And
I mean, you're a godly man.
A what?
You're a godly man. Satan is real. He is the father of all lies. He tries to attack.
He's absolutely part of the fabric of this country. And he's the fabric of the world. I mean, this is, if you think of it, you really think deep about it, it could be the classic, the right of people to, it's the fight against Satanism. I call it Satanism, but it's the fight against evil because it's evil.
Yes.
It's not just Satan. Some of the things that go on are purely evil. These killing cops. I mean, for no reason.
How does
And they're not
BLM get away
talking
with this?
about it. They target 6 police officers in Dallas. You know, and it's just, it's sad because, you know, we're working with a new group, with our veterans group. It's called Folds of Honor Foundation. And what the Folds of Honor does is they provide scholarship funding to the families of soldiers killed in action. So you get to meet these families. Now, it was interesting. We had our event this weekend, and one of the women who lost a husband from in Iraq, she drove up all the way from Monroe County, way deep in Monroe County, drove up. She found out about we were having an event. Her son got the scholarship last year, and she drove up to see us and say thank you personally. But to what cost is that guy's life? It served no purpose. That man and many others, including the Vietnam War guys, since Vietnam, have served no purpose than the purpose of the powers to be. Send them to war, let them fight, let them die. But you know what? We stick our nose where it doesn't belong. It's classic. That's a classic example. You know, I think the only thing I disagree with now is Trump needs to get the heck out of Afghanistan. We need to get our guys home.
Amen. Man, he said that. He said in 2013, 14.
Yeah.
You're saying get them back home.
We need to be home. You know what? Enough dying, enough killing, enough. You know,
But you know the big poppy seeds there. 93% of the heroin trade.
You know, and
It's
the
right
establishment won the argument.
They want the $800 billion.
They won the argument. You know, we just need to come home.
man.
I mean, I'm not normally an isolationist, but at this point in time, we need to regroup. We need to take our guys home and let the world run on its own. We don't need them. You know, in my view, anyway.
Well, America's right before a huge, even Ron Paul saying, huge crash, the biggest economic crash that we've seen in our lifetime.
How far can they go?
It's coming.
The stock market is at record highs every day, and nothing seems to affect it at this point. No matter what he does, or no matter what the government does, or whatever happens, nothing seems to affect it, which tells me that the people that are at the top levels of that are just funding that and funding it and funding it. And someday it's going to blow.
There's
and
a
when
bubble.
And when it does,
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be it's going to be worse than the Depression, I think.
It's going. That's it. All the top analysts: Peter Schiff, Harry Dent, Ron Paul. You know, Jim Rogers from from the top Wall Street banker. Saying the crash is coming. It's going to be worse than 1920 because it's going to be worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean,
we have a false economy throughout. Here and elsewhere
in the world.
Yeah.
My
Our trade
goodness.
deficits with China alone. Trade deficits,
Massive.
And you know what? I don't understand. What I don't understand, and I guess I'm just a street kind of guy, is, you know, you get on the phone, and maybe it's naivety. You call Putin and say, hey, listen, you know, we gotta figure this out. I'm coming to see you. Can I come have coffee with you?
Exactly.
You know, why do I need all of this protocol and all these other
Exactly.
things? Let's talk man to man. What do you want? What are we going to do?
Let's get it
How
done.
do we? Because we're protecting our populations. Putin as well as us, you know, or North Korea as well as us. They want. Well, I don't know about North Korea, but Russia and people like that. They want to protect their people.
Russia has 70 years of communism. They don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
They want free markets.
They want it.
They don't want the homosexual agenda in there. They don't want communism.
No.
They're now the 13th biggest economy, but that's, you know, they're still lagging way behind.
Yeah.
And Putin just wants to get along and try to get off the, you know, the world bank currency. He wants to be able to try to boost up the ruble.
Yeah.
He doesn't want World War III.
Yeah. No.
Like these crazies want World War III. No. He doesn't want to blow up the world.
And what's interesting is you can pick out the trouble. You know, Iran. Iran's a problem.
That's a problem.
You know, Iran is an issue. It's you know, it's very much like, you know, the mouse that roared. It's so much like that, the mouse that roared. You know, and how far can they push us? You know, where are we going to go with this? And in the meantime, you know, countries like Iran rely on Russia or China, and that's kind of where it is. You know, Iran, I think, is aligned with China.
And just last week, they were sending naval ships out to the Atlantic Ocean. They said they're going to send it to the U.S. coast.
Yeah, come on.
These people are crazy.
Let them come because we're shooting back now.
Well, the beginning of the
That's
order.
the best part about it is, you know, they're not, you know, throwing water balloons at them anymore. in the Gulf.
Talk about
They're
protecting
shooting
Iran.
at them.
What about Obama delivering billions of dollars of cash to
That's
them?
crazy. That is nuts.
Paying them,
Yeah.
paying them to develop their nuclear program.
Yeah, yeah. And they're not giving it up.
And what about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton in 1997 giving the North Koreans nuclear technology?
Yeah.
In 1997, that's
That,
mainstream news.
mainstream media is not
Mainstream
reporting
news.
that. They're not
Nobody
reporting
talks
that.
about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I know.
The Clintons weaponized the
Yeah.
North Koreans,
Yeah.
and now we got this issue, and they say it's Trump's fault. It's all Trump's fault. It's the Russians. They
Yeah.
colluded with Russia. Yes, Burger King went out of business in this city, so it's the Russians. The Russians did it.
Yeah.
The Russians did it. Yes. Somebody had that car accident. Well, you know who it was? It was Vladimir Putin
Yeah.
who organized that attack.
Yeah, the Russians. We like it's
Give me a
easy.
break.
It's easy. It's a short name. A lot of people can remember it. Russia. You know, so it's the Russians. They did it.
Oh my
you know,
goodness!
And even with the appointment of the special counsel, you know, you find that normally to appoint the special counsel has to be a violation of the law. When Nixon, they knew Watergate, it was a violation of the law. Let's investigate the Watergate issue.
Oh, my
and take
goodness.
it from there. So Ken Starr comes to be.
What Nixon did was a joke compared to what Hillary
Oh.
Rodham Clinton did. 36,000 federal laws broken, 36,000 emails leaked.
She blatantly lied, and you know what? The frustrating part for I think the normal everyday American is if I did it, I'd be in trouble.
We dodged a bullet on that one with Hillary Clinton.
Well, you know what? She's not going away.
Oh my goodness, it's
You
true.
know, so I don't
Very,
know.
very
You
true.
know, she's not going away, and you know they've got they have the Clintons are a classic example of people who want to rule. They don't want to
Rule
govern.
and reign.
They don't want to govern. They want to rule. That creates a very, very big difference in them.
And they were involved in satanic circles doing spirit cooking. That's in the WikiLeaks with
Yeah.
Marino Abramovich.
Yeah.
Nasty, disgusting, spiritual rituals. Literally Satanism.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a woman who carved a pentagram on her stomach as a work of art.
Yeah.
These are the people they're hanging out with. These are the people, John Podesta and Hillary. That's in the WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
Folks, we'll be right back after this short break with more with Patriot Tom Ryan. Stay with us.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017, broadcasting to all the kings and queens of the kingdom of God. Now we're here with Tom Ryan, Patriot Tom Ryan, who runs the Vetstock organization here, executive director for Pike and Monroe counties of Vetstock. Now Vetstock's mission is in raising money for service organizations and concentrates on homes for our vets. Veterans are the ones who put their necks on the line. They stand in front of all the bullets, so all these, even the liberal lunatics can believe what they want. Tom also rides with Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, which is over 15,000 strong over the USA. Tom, tell us about your organizations how everybody can support them, what can we do to help President Trump? What can we do to take America back?
Vetstock is not for profit, so it's apolitical. We have now. I put on another hat, you know, and I do it quite often. My political views versus my work with Vetstock. Vetstock is a 501c3 that we raise money. We have all volunteer organizations, all volunteers. No one gets paid.
Wow.
The only monies that we outlay are for insurance purposes and things like that, or general. And we take that funding, and some of it has gone to homes for our troops, building homes for soldiers that have been amputees. So we've contributed to building 2 of them. One of them right here in Hawley, young man was blown up in an IED in Afghanistan, and he lost his legs, but he also has a traumatic brain injury. He's in very, very bad shape, but he was in a nursing home in the Bronx for 11 years. When we found out about it, we said, you know what, it's time for you to come home. So we worked hard with Homes for Our Troops, and they built a new house up in Hawley with 47 different enhancements for him. Like, he cannot get out of bed, so he needs a lift. He needs full-time care.
Wow.
But there's no reason he should have languished in a nursing home for 11 years. Yeah. This is a hero. You know, so, but now we've moved some of our focus to another group called Folds of Honor. And Folds, what they do is they provide funding to children or families of soldiers killed in action. So that really tears at the emotional strings, because like this year, last year we had 6 local, 5 of them killed in the same Humvee. Wow. And imagine that tragedy. All those families know each other. They're all from the same armory. That is a massive. That tragedy is just. I can't comprehend how all of that took place with them. So and then another gentleman 3 days later was killed. So last year we totaled, between us and Woodlock Springs, who we partner with, we donated $30,000 to that foundation.
Wow, God bless you, man.
The foundation now, the United States Golf Association, matches that for every $5,000 that we donate, the USGA donates approximately another $20,000.
Wow.
So your $5,000 contribution becomes $25,000. So my slogan now, I've changed it. I come up with these little slogans, but it's like, you know, we can make a difference. And we can show the difference. We can show you the film. I met a woman this weekend. We had Vetstock Weekend, who literally drove her car up. She heard we were having a Vetstock Weekend, and she drove her car an hour and a half just to come and say thank you, because her son was a recipient of one of those scholarships. You know, we get to meet some of the families, but this was really unique, a very emotional experience for all of us, because you know, we had a lot of the combat vets were on hand because we had a motorcycle run, and you could see in their faces what they were thinking about how this woman came and what's going on around us. So Vetstock is you know, we that's how we raise money. We have our website is vetstockamerica.com. There's a donation button on there. You can go in and donate to us. Plus, we have a number of events. You know, this weekend we're at the Malibu Dude Ranch Rodeo every Saturday. So we're there this Saturday, and then our final weekend is Labor Day weekend. We'll be there in full force. But the people are so generous. I mean, the people in we just expanded into Wayne. We just spent 8 days up at the Wayne County Fair, and people in general are just so generous. I mean, here where we are, we happen to be very, very fortunate that we live in counties, and we're surrounded by counties that the real America is. I call it real America. You know, there's some isolated spots that have some issues, but the overall piece of it is, you know, a lot of us use the phrase, you know, America starts west of the Delaware River. You know, so because, you know, everything kicks in. You're bordered by 2 states here that really don't like you around.
Communist states.
You know? Yeah, you got New York surrounded, you know, basically.
Oh,
but,
man.
you know, when you can't exercise your God, basically, the Constitution was is almost a document that was it was some divine
Inspired by God.
intervention.
Absolutely.
It lasts. Nothing lasts the length of this Constitution, and as many times as they've tried to adjust it, it still corrects itself. So you know, you look at it now, and we've done. The people in this country did the correction. We elected Trump. That was the correction. And you know what stays out of mainstream media is what he's done. You know, he's
Now, as a veteran, how has Donald Trump, because President Trump has talked about reestablishing the prestige of the VA.
Wow.
And how we care for our veterans.
I'll tell you from personal experience, the change almost from the day he got elected was incredible.
Bam! Right there. Bam! You heard it straight, folks. Right there. Right there.
I am sure there are some isolated places that veterans don't get the care that they earned or deserve. I'm sure there's places like that. But the fact of the matter is now whoever's in charge of that has the authority to deal with that where they didn't before. It's a big, big bureaucracy. But now the level of care has changed. I got good care. I'll never say anything about the care I get. I go to Wilkes-Barre. I got great care up there. But the difference is I had to go for some dermatology. And I had been refused Veterans Choice. That choice program that they all touted, they put out. Oh, you can go out anywhere you want. We already have it. Forget it. What they interpreted the rule of law that said any building that had VA, Veterans Administration, on it, if you live within 12 miles of that, you're not eligible. Well, my records are in Pennsylvania. All of my records are in the VA. That's a classic example of mini powers. Every state runs their own VA administration. So I cannot go. If I left here today and drove across the bridge and went to that clinic, right across the bridge, the Port Jervis Clinic, I could not get care. I have to register in the New York system. It's crazy. Why can't I just go there? I cannot go. I give blood. Every 6 months or so they take blood. I'm 8 miles from Port Jervis Clinic. I'm 72 miles from Wilkes-Barre. I have to go to Wilkes-Barre.
You gotta go all the way out there.
Yeah. And they pay me. They pay me. Instead of saying, go here, get your blood drawn. No, I got to go. So they pay me mileage to go. But the system in general, the VA system has improved greatly.
Well, they used to have the death panels under Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, you had VA vets that were waiting for surgery, waiting for reconstructive brain surgery. They just let them go.
Well, we always use the classic, the VA's overwhelmed, I think, with patients. And in my day, when I fought in Vietnam, if you took a major shrapnel or shot to your thigh, where your artery is, you're going to die. That was a given. You're going to die. There's a good chance. You had an 85% chance of not living through that kind of a wound. Today, you have a 100% chance of survival. So they're coming back. We have young men coming back with no legs, no arms, no legs or no arms together. So basically their core body, but they went through such a traumatic experience, but they survived. And the VA is obligated to take care of them.
What if we allowed the private insurance companies to have all these packages, different packages, where they would compete for veterans business and veteran support, and or taking from their profits, just like in the past, before the federalized insurance policies, they used to have doctors would give free care to those who fought for the country.
Yeah, I see. That's where I disagree somewhat. I do not want the private sector involved in my health care because the private sector is involved in profit. And I don't begrudge them for that, but that's what they're going to be driven by. They're going to be driven by creating profits. If that means you're going to a doctor more, you're going, I kind of like this centralized healthcare system so far, but I also like the idea to have a choice to go outside the system to my choice of physician and the VA will pay for it. That's their issue, not mine. And
Now, in terms of the vets,
Yeah.
when you meet the vets on the ground, how would you say their morale is about President Trump?
well, right now it's
Do
great.
they feel
Yeah,
the-
it's good. Everybody is up. Everybody, you know, we all feel for the men that are serving, but we feel like that we have someone who's speaking for us. Well, we've been abandoned for 8
Yes.
years, and longer. I'm not, you know, this crosses party lines, to be honest with you.
That's right. 60,000 Democrats switched.
Yeah. So you look at it, and you have the veteran population should be out of the equation, and they should be treated with the respect that they earned or deserve.
Yes.
But for this long period of time, it didn't happen. But now, you know, Trump is. A lot of people disagree with him. A lot of people don't agree with him. A lot of people don't like him. But as far as morale within the system, within us, I think is very good. I think he still controls a lot of support because he wants us to get health care. He wants us to be treated the way we should be treated, in our view, anyway. You know, I had a guy tell me one day, I got into a big discussion with him, and he said, well, what's the big deal? He says, I got shot at. That was his words to me. I got shot at. I said, well, I got shot. That was my answer to him. You know, so what are we going to one-upsman here? You know, I got shot at. I got shot, you know. So it's kind of funny, but people don't realize what you face. You know, you look at the guys in World War II, Korea, and those kinds of guys. You don't understand. You don't. A lot of they don't understand what it's like to take a bullet. I probably ask anybody in this room or anywhere outside the American Legion and say, what do you think it's like to take a bullet? How do you feel? Or take a piece of shrapnel, you know, hot, burning, white hot piece of metal piercing your flesh, you know, and it doesn't stop at a surface wound. It goes in, it breaks stuff, it shoots. So how do you feel about that? And I think Trump kind of gets all of that, you know, and I don't think he's using an advisor to get it. I think he just gets it, you know. I don't think he needs to go to McMaster or Mattis or any of those guys to understand it.
He's the blue-collar billionaire. He's the one who protects and stands out for the normal man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, absolutely. I think so anyway. It's
But
my
look at these
opinion.
generals around him. You know, McMaster, for example, that's now confirmed by Israeli intelligence. He's been caught emailing George Soros and giving him reports on a daily basis. He's worked for George Soros-funded activities, organizations, and George Soros, of course, is one of the greatest funders of the most radical left. He funds Antifa, he funds MoveOn.org, he funds Black Lives Matter, BLM, he funds Linda Sarsour and her radical Islam, Sharia law touting feminist movement. This is the guy who's funding that kind of civil war in America. And he's doubled his funding. And we have McMaster, who is reporting this guy directly. This is a problem in the White House.
Well, that's, again, I got to switch hats. You know, I'm going to go to my political hat.
Your normal Tom Ryan hat.
Yeah, it's, you know, Tom Ryan agrees with a lot of what you're saying. I don't. Listen, I rely on President Trump to represent me, which I think he's doing, and against all odds. It's him against all odds. That's where he.
His life is in danger.
Yeah, every day.
I mean, what's it? Pastor Brown, who's in the evangelical circuit praying for him, was told by a congressman that they're going to try to kill Trump in the next 2 months, and he talked about that in a sermon he gave in front of his church. And then the Secret Service visited him right away.
Yeah.
And then he was on Breitbart and InfoWars, and he was on all this alternative media telling people, hey, they told me they're going to try to kill him.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know, you know, how all of that's going to work, but listen, he's a tough guy.
That's going to start a
He's
civil
a tough
war.
Guy. Trump's a tough guy. I wouldn't count him out.
I mean, if the deep state tries to kill a duly elected president, not only is it clear and present danger, they're going to get civil war.
Yeah.
They're going to get a big march from all the patriots of all race, creeds, colors, and everything descending on Washington.
I agree with that.
They're going to have a problem.
I agree. That's a long overdue, to be honest with you.
And guess what? The gun owners, all hunters, know how to skin a buck,
Yeah.
fillet a trout,
Yeah.
and know how to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Folks, we need to be praying for our president. We need to be praying for sovereignty. We need to be praying for this country. We need to be praying for every other red-blooded human being that is trying to fight for sovereignty, try to throw off the shackles of the archangel and archangelism and political Satanism, try to be free and yearn to be one with their Creator, who gives us inalienable rights to stand for His sovereignty that He's given us as the inheritors of His kingdom, His children. God did not give it to the archangel, even though the archangel helped him create all of creation. He gave it to Adam and Eve, His children. It's the devil that flipped that around and took all the way the inheritance. It is the children of God that will inherit the earth, and the kingdoms of Satan will be vanquished. We thank you so much for joining us this day. We thank you for Patriot Tom Ryan. Please support him in every which way you can. Pray for him, his organization. Support them and the different work that they're doing, raising money for homes for vets. There's really no better work than you can do than helping these vets who stood for you on the battle line to protect all the things and blessings of God that we enjoy in these United States of America. Pray for our president. We need to be on our knees. We need to be repenting before God. We know we're not perfect, but we know God. We know moving in God's providence. We know God is leading us towards His eventual destination, which is the kingdom of heaven on earth. We're supposed to pray it every day, folks. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp, with Tim Elder, tomorrow leading on the King's Report. And we will see you on, with Vetstock at future events. Come out to the events and support your vets. Get your bikes out and support the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association as well. Give them a honk when they're passing by. Support them. Just appreciate them. Go talk to them. Thank them for what they've done. Sometimes it's just simple as that. Just saying thank you. Going up to somebody and saying thank you for your service. Sometimes that can save a life. Sometimes that can give them encouragement when everybody else is trying to attack them and the federal bureaucracies are trying to tell them that they're worthless and they're domestic terrorists. Sometimes it just takes a normal person who has the Spirit of God in them that says thank you, that can uplift their spirits for all that they've done for these states and, of course, for this world. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.